Hello. Hey Nui. Hey APX. Happy Tuesday. More interview prep today. Let's see if I need to actually update this. There aren't any specific interviews. This is for just for job hunt in general. I'm going to start by doing questions and problems collaboratively so we can learn together. I don't know how we're going to do this. Adam will likely tackle some problems today without looking at chat and others more collaboratively. Yeah. Yeah, there's not too much to say really. I'm going to be doing this until I get a traditional job. I think this is perhaps the way you increase your odds the most, assuming you already increased your odds in all the other ways. So I think your resume is pretty important. And then I think you need to practice some behavioral questions. And there are pretty much these three things. Actually, no, there's one more, which is applying. So there are, I'd say, these four realms. I don't know if there's anything else to really consider here. No, that's about it. Calendar's empty for you. No events, at least for the current week. That's weird. It should have all the normal ones. No, yeah, I see that. Let me take a look. Yeah, they're all there for me. Can anyone else take a look at the schedule and see if... Yeah, the FAQ link. Hang on, I should have linked in just the calendar. Actually, let's just open this in an incognito window. That should be fine. Yes, it does not appear to show here. Although I don't see any of them. And I don't see any past ones either. But I see it on my calendar. Okay, that's weird. I will give you a point. I'll have to take a look at that. I don't know what's causing that to happen. Okay. So yeah, hey T Wilson, hey Memphis, hey Smurf. Happy to be on the job hunt again. No, I don't think the job hunt is ever fun. I think that it's just generally an annoying process. And it's something that's necessary, but yeah, I don't think it's ever fun. And at the beginning of it, it was fine because the kinds of talks I was having with companies were very different. And then, I don't know, I guess I was talking to startups or something. I'm not really sure what the difference was. Ustara, welcome back. Thanks for the half year. If I'm struggling with this experience, then you're doomed. I don't think it really works that way. I think this is all about just practice. And I think the more you practice, the better you're going to get at this. There's almost no way that you'll practice and not get better. And if you learn even just a little bit, that could be all it takes. You never know what kind of questions you're going to get. So if you practiced a bunch of array questions and you got an array question in the interview, then awesome. You'll do a little bit better. It did show yesterday at the start of the stream. Okay, yeah, strange. Almost had time, not didn't have time to watch the VOD last night. Yeah, the VOD yesterday, that was very unusual for me. I mentioned yesterday that I had to bolt because my wife had a family emergency and I wanted to just tend to her. And then in the evening, she went to a friend's place. And I figured, okay, well, if she's gone and I had to end the stream early, then let me just stream again. So yeah, last night, I'm surprised it actually worked out to be 2 hours and 50 minutes. Wow. Yeah, crazy. So we streamed for a good amount of time yesterday. It's like 5.5 hours. Have I been in some interviews lately? I was watching your video like 2 weeks ago, so it'd be great to catch up. I had done a bunch of interviews, only one of which I would say was technical. Other ones were, yeah, they weren't like these kinds of things. So yeah, I would say one of them was technical. And in general, I've been very quick to say to companies that like I'm not moving forward with the interview process if I don't feel like I'd take a job at the company. I think a lot of people do that. I think they will move forward with the process so that they get experience with the process. And I feel like that's a waste of the company's resources. So rather than just try to get more technical interviewing experience under my belt, I'd rather just do it on stream where I'm wasting nobody's time. Except for when I'm rambling like this. Hey, Alex. And hey, Ananta. And yes. So yeah, I don't have any interviews lined up exactly. I'm still getting responses from my initial round of resumes that I sent out. And yeah, I gotta just figure out what I want to do. So I think let's just dive in. Yeah. These things I should start to lump into this note, but I think we'll maybe do that as we go. So let's go to LeetCode again. What do you get for lunch? Sushi. Done. So let's start with some easy problems. I like just kind of working our way into this. So I'll just click easy. And that's pretty much it, right? Now I can just find one of these. Kids with the greatest number of candies. That's not a bad idea. Nice. Hey, Flags. Yeah, LeetCode time. Hey, yo. So the other things I want to write, make sure to look at a questions upvote to downvote ratio. The ones with downvotes piled high are generally bad questions. Yeah, and I want to take a picture of this. Because like I said, I wanted to take notes about this stuff. There was a hard problem that we did. Yeah, it wasn't this one. This one was actually well upvoted, yeah. So we're going to say this is good. And I know for sure there's a medium one. We actually did it. This one, yeah. This question just wasn't clear. There. There's not a great way to lay this out here. Probably good. Oh man, there we go. Probably bad. Okay. Hey Goose. So in this case, if you're going to get a job, not more streams whatsoever, just occasionally, no more scheduled streams at all. What'll probably happen is that the streams they'll probably disappear for some time. The thing is, almost everything I do on this stream is mentally taxing. I very rarely just sit here and like play a video game or something. So it's hard. It's going to be hard to do 8 hours of a traditional job, maybe go to the gym afterward, prepare dinner, and then be like, okay, time to stream now for something that's also mentally taxing, and then get up and do it all again the next day. So I think they'll be less frequent. I'm not exactly sure what they'll be about. So I'll have to figure that out. Right now, my main goal, my short-term goal, is just get stability. And that means find a traditional job, find out what's going on with Adam Learns, and figure out what my weekly routine looks like. I need to settle into something that works, of course. Usually bad test cases or bad description, yeah. I've only seen the one so far with bad descriptions. The test cases haven't vexed me yet. All right, so given the array candies and the integer extra candies, where candies I represents the number of candies that the ith kid has. Okay, that makes sense. For each kid, check if there's a way to distribute extra candies such that he or she can have the greatest number of candies among them. I don't understand that. So candies 2, 3, 5, 1, 3, extra candies 3. Oh, I understand. Okay, so basically, if we added 2 plus 3, would that put us at the greatest in the list? If we added 3 plus 3, would that put us at the greatest in the list? And so the only one that's not true for is 1. So if we gave this person 3 candies, they'd still be at 4, which would not be the greatest. So this question essentially boils down to find the largest number in an array, and then figure out which numbers are within extra candies of that number. Okay. Hey, 715. Hey, Trump Stars. I think someone else will be sad not to be notified that Adam's on the stream. Yes, I'll feel bad too. It's not over yet, and I still want to do some things on stream. I feel like there's a lot of stuff that is very conducive for streaming. But yeah, finding the time and the energy is going to be tough. And the other thing too is like I get whatever normal view count I have. I don't know, it's probably been about 100 something. And that's during the day. Last night, which is not a time I normally stream at, was probably like 80 viewers. So the view counts will get cut down too if I don't have a schedule. And at some point, I think the benefits of streaming will also kind of drop off. What type of job am I looking for? Just right now, kind of just developer, not really front end. Doesn't matter too much. Yeah, I know it's yours. Yeah. It doesn't matter too much about the domain exactly. Then again, I'm trying to keep my options open right now. Kiwi, welcome back. Thank you for subbing. How do companies look at gap years, doing nothing for a couple of years? Your opinion? I think this is all on a case-by-case basis. I think there's probably always going to be a question of what did you do during that time? And your answer can influence them wildly. If you're like, look, I just want to play video games for 2 years, that's probably a bad sign. If you say, hey, I wanted a certain life experience, I had a family member who needed to be taken care of, something else that makes sense to them, that'd be totally fine. So I don't think this necessarily reflects poorly on you, but I think it would if you said something that's just like, I just felt like wasting time. that might be bad. But even then, it's like you could probably spin that in such a way. Okay, so this is the problem. And let's figure out how we're gonna do this. So initial hunch was find the largest number in the array and then figure out all numbers that are x away from that number. So this on its own is going to be, this is O of n. And then if we were to do this again, it'd be O of n. And so if there was a way where we could know at the beginning, so I'm thinking is we could, I'm trying to figure out if there's a way to cut this out and do it all at once. We don't necessarily know what the largest number is. And if we were to keep track of it in another data structure, it would still be an O of n traversal over it. I'm probably overthinking this. I think we'll just code this way. This is fine. Yeah, I think yeah. Why is the cursor yellow? I did this for the Godot course that I recorded and I just never set it back. The cursor is also gigantic and you can't actually tell until I do this. And I also kept it at the gigantic size. Oh wow, Stara. Yeah, this is something that I find is very tough for me to do. I think what I've learned enough over the course of my career, for myself at least, is that I'll get burned out if I do too much. And spending 80 hours is definitely in the too much territory for me. Finish all the challenges in HackerRank. No, we tried out LeetCode. I don't remember why we switched to this. I think I wanted to just give it a shot. Okay, so if this is the way that I'm going to do this. Oh, if you get done with all the... Oh, I see what you're saying. Sorry, yeah. I misinterpreted. I didn't realize you were making a joke. So I is less than candies dot length, I plus plus. So first we're just going to find the largest number. Number equals, let's just say null. We could also set it to candy 0 or something, but then we have to assume that candies has at least something in it. So if largest number equals null or candies I is greater than largest number, then largest number equals candies I. Okay. Then we iterate over one more time and we say if extra candies, if largest number minus extra candies, I'd rather compare it this way. There, because this makes more sense from a maintainability perspective, I feel. So it's greater than this, then we return true. So we just say like const can be greatest values. And we put this here. It's a bad variable name, but I think this is the idea. Yeah, so this is fine. All right. Now we had, I think it's LSRPNet was typing on Discord that they ran a problem at point X in time, and then they ran it again at time Y, and they got just wildly different numbers for this. So I don't really think we should ever consider this too strongly. The other thing that's tough is that you don't know how many people answered with a specific language. So here it says at the bottom how many answers they got and how many were accepted, but it doesn't say per language. So we don't know what it means to be faster than 15% of people. And if you click the button again, it'll give you a different number. So yeah, It said 15%. Now it says 55%. And anyway, so I guess we should also write that down. Don't trust the numbers for this. Don't put a lot of stock into the you are faster than X% of people. It can change wildly without even modifying your answer. It said JavaScript? Wait. What I'm saying, this says JavaScript? What I was trying to get at is this says we're faster than 55% who use JavaScript, but we don't know how many people that is. Sorry, I should say we don't know the absolute number of how many people that is. This could be 100 people and it could be 1,000 people. Yeah, sorry, I wasn't clear about that. Yeah. And this tells us the absolute number of all people who did this. But it's not like we can just say, oh yeah, it's about 50% of 60,000. Yeah. Hey, Blueberry King, hey, Maelstrom. So the idea is not to use any JS utilities? I would assume so. I mean, imagine if they're like write quicksort and you say, okay, I call the qsort function on some array and there I'm done. It's like that wouldn't fly in an interview generally. But that's my guess. I think something like this is totally fine. Using the standard library just built in math. And doing math.max is probably not as fine. That's my guess. Because this is the only complexity of the question. Hey, Thoros. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Like I said, I want to start with a few easy problems. And then we go on from there. Where are we at? God, it's so difficult to figure out. Yeah, there we go. Because you have to refresh the page, and then you can't click any other ones with the lock. But you can't filter those out because they want you to buy premium. Defanging an IP address? I don't think I've ever heard of that term. Given a valid IPv4 address, return a defanged version. Places every period with a boxed period. I have never seen this. Is this an actual thing? I see things on Tutorial Point and LeetCode. Yeah, I've never heard of that term. Hey, Beamer. Beamer, I don't write this. This is something that if you just click the different pieces of code here are there for you. So yeah, I would probably say this is const, but I'm not gonna change this. It's not important. Sounds made up. Okay, yeah. It's weird that they would say this. So let's see. This got a lot of downvotes. What? Because I'm guessing most people just do this via string replace. Okay. I mean, let's just do that. Address dot replace dot g. There. Submit. Is that literally it? Yeah. Okay. Maybe that's why this got downvoted. That wasn't. We're not counting that. That's a stupid question. Also, I want to downvote that too. I don't know what they're even aiming for with this. Try to keep our questions as high quality as possible. Could you tell us why you dislike this? The question is just a string replacement. The question doesn't really seem to test any algorithmic knowledge. Also submit via GitHub. Is this going to turn into a GitHub issue? I hope not. Too easy, fam. Yeah, this is not worthwhile to ever ask anybody, I feel. Okay, XOR operation in an array. This has better a vote to downvote ratio. Given an integer n and an integer start, define an array nums where nums I equals start plus 2 times I, 0 indexed, and n equals nums length. Return the bitwise XOR of all elements. So before, what I'd like to do, and there's no way to stop this. So before even looking at the example, I want to see if I understand this just from the problem statement. So given an integer n and an integer start, define an array numbers where numbers I equals start plus 2 times I. Okay, I think I see what's going on. So let's say n equals 10 and start equals 5. So we're going to make 10 numbers, and it's going to be start plus 2 times I. Start plus 2 times I is that, yeah. So we're just going to go by odd numbers. So we're generating 10 numbers are separated by 2, and then return the bitwise XOR of all elements of nums. Okay. All right. I don't think this is too difficult. I think we should probably just start with medium problems from now on. So given an integer n and an integer start, generate a number of that. So is there like a times built in, and I don't have to use, I use Lodash for so much. So I is less than n, plus I. So we'll say nums is an array, nums dot push. So we want to say nums dot push start plus 2 times I. Actually, we don't even need to do this. Yeah, we could just generate the numbers that we have because XOR should be commutative here. So let's say XOR value is 0 and 0. Whoops. All right, I think that's it. And then return XOR value. And I don't even need nums there. Could have gotten rid of that. Oh, can you not do bitwise equal? Is this not? Is that not the bitwise XOR operator? It is. That really doesn't exist as an operator? Wow. I don't think I knew that. Oh no, I just said it's const. Okay, it does exist. This does not give you the kind of error that the console would give you. Yeah, okay, I don't think this is a good question either. Although maybe the real problem is that they have you do something. They say to define an array, but they're telling you an implementation detail. You don't actually need the array. All right. Yeah, I use Latin knock once. Yeah, I messed that up. All right, I think let's move on to the medium ones. Also, hey, Ryan, LTB, and Artie, and Arlie did and Nor. All right, so medium problems. Why is this finding nothing? Medium algorithms. Okay, cool. So you can't middle click these. Every time I use this site, I keep thinking this should change. This is super downvoted. I wonder if it's because this is an advertisement in it. So this string is written in a zigzag pattern on a given number of rows like this. Okay. And then read by line. Write the code that will take the string and make this conversion given a number of rows. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah. I don't think this is a bad question. I'm not actually sure why this got downvoted. The last one? This is odd. It's a little odd, yeah. Oh, hey, array has fill. Yeah. Although there's no real reason to fill it with start, right? Wait, also, this doesn't do the XORing. So this doesn't do the answer. This doesn't give you the answer. Oh no. I stopped reading the problem. Okay, so let's see how this one works. So given a string, I guess it's easiest to just write it out like this. Given a string like this and a number, you want to go downward with this string. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. Pew, welcome back. Have I done an LRU cache? No, I think LRU caches fit more into data structures than algorithms, and we've just been covering algorithms. So covered data structures at some point. Yeah, I think we'll get to that eventually. So there is something that's a little confusing here, which is what do you do when you get a number of rows that's 4? Oh, this is where this starts getting weird. They say do it as a, okay. Do it as a diagonal. I guess that's why. Okay, well then let's try this out. Let's write one more of these down, I suppose. So with 4, it looked like this. Oh, it's so hard to type with autocorrect. D, E, F, G, H. So the way I see this is we could, so here's my first hunch would be make a 2D array and just figure out the coordinates each time I lit a character. But is there another way we could kind of look at this? So this string turns into this. Is there some way we could kind of figure this out? Like maybe there's a way to just go from here and do a transformation on it such that we don't need to draw everything and compute it from that. So is there maybe if there is, it would probably use mod and then the number of columns we have essentially. How would we figure that out? Yeah, I feel like there's got to be some clever trick you can apply. But I'm going to examine this a little bit further because yeah, this will definitely work for sure. And then we just like iterate over the 2D array and read each non-null position back. So that would work. We could represent it as a graph, I guess. Optimization maybe to represent it as a graph instead of a 2D array. Except for no, we can't do that, right? Because we need edges to go between. That would work. We need edges to go in 2 directions. Yeah, this is gonna be tough to find a pattern. I'd say let's try the same thing with 2. Although would that even work? How does that look? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. Here's just alternating. And here it's, oops, what am I doing? I'm probably just gonna go with the first hunch. I don't see anything popping out at me that lets me know that this is some pattern-based thing that I can figure out ahead of time. Again, I'm doing well. How are you doing? Hey, Locust. It's just torture. Imagine if there's some movie, they capture some like war criminal and they're like, all right, we got to get the information out of this person. We want you to take a string and make it a zigzag pattern, and I want you to do it an O of N time. The war criminal's like, no, anything but that. Yeah, so let's write out the solution that I had here. I think this is good enough. Although, actually, you know what? For this one, let's write it on the. Oh man, Visual Studio Code's doing that thing again where I open up a new tab and it's already got contents in it. So we'll save this as zigzag conversion, .js. There we go. All right, so we want a grid, and we know that do we know the size of the grid? There's probably a clever way to figure it out, right? So we know that the number of columns. Okay, so in this case, our size at width equals 1 would be 4. Here's how I think this is best to write. We'll write it as something like this, and then we'll get a function. This is like max size. And then this would go up by another 4, so it'd be 10. And so then this would continue on 11, 12, and then 16. So we need to know what size to make this thing, and we can figure it out ahead of time. So what is the formula for this? Formula for computing the width is gonna be, and what is it, this one? This is 3, 4, 7, 8, 11, 12, 15. how do we generate this sequence? It's a step function. So we probably need a math.floor in there. Math.floor. Well, what should we call this? What are they calling it? Num rows. I want to figure out this part on my own. So I'm gonna try to reason this out. So width divided by num rows. So 1 divided by 4. I guess it's gonna be like width plus 1 divided by num rows. Okay, so now this is gonna be 4 plus width percent num rows. Is that correct? Let's type this into Wolfram Alpha. No, we need a num rows. All right, so this is work. We have 1. So no, that'd be 2 divided by 4. This was supposed to be inside the parentheses. Let's just try this out. Let's make a quick program. Temp. Okay, so num rows equals 3, and then for I equals 1, I is less than or equal to 10, I plus plus. We're just gonna print this out. And this is technically the width that we're going with. No, I totally botched that. 3, 4, 7, 8. All right, let me think about this again. No, I think it's gonna be harder than this. Well, the other thing is we could just compute this to the point where when it gets big enough, I think that's what we'll do. And not try to come up with a simple O of 1 formula. It's okay to have an O of n formula at first. All right, so compute width of grid. So we take in a num characters and num rows. And the number of characters is this. So width is equal to compute width s dot length num rows. All right, and then how do we figure this out? We need to figure out the first max width that is greater than the number of characters. Figure out the first max width that's greater than the number of characters. And here's how we do this. Oh, it's gonna be annoying on its own. Actually, I should think about this a little bit further before I do this. So let's starting max equals num rows. So at 1, that's what this is gonna be. And if that's already greater than this, then I guess we're fine. If starting max is greater than or equal to num characters, then turns the width is 1 at that point. Okay, then for everything else, we need to add, and we need to do it this number minus 2. That's the amount. Number of columns with 1 character equals num rows minus 2. So that's our zigzag that I'm saying here. So here we have 4 rows, and the number of columns only have 1 character is going to be 2 columns. So we have 1 column, 1 column. Here we have 3 rows. The number of columns with 1 character is going to be 1 column. So it's 3 minus 2, it's 4 minus 2. And again, I will look at chat at least when I'm done writing this part of it. So the reason why this is necessary is because now we need to just keep iterating over this until we find a maximum that works, which we could have written this as a while true loop originally. And so we say, we could put this here. Let width equals 1, and then while true, while starting max is less than num characters. So we're going to do something here, and then we're going to return the width. This goes up here. This is deleted. And how does this part work now? So we say I equals 0, I is less than number of columns. and then our starting max plus plus and width plus plus, but at any given time we need to bail out here. All right, I'm gonna just put this here. And I'll figure this out in a little bit. And then at the end of that, we do starting max plus equal num rows, and then width plus plus again. So I think that'll work, but I'm not positive, so we will need to test this. Yeah, and then something's being highlighted in red. Oh yeah, I see. I forgot to make this a function. All right, let's go test it. Just this one part. We need to generate these same numbers that we had, which I already wrote out here. So let's just do that. Num rows equals 3. Oculus, welcome back. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. And thanks for the 11 months. Also, I see someone spamming chat. Please stop spamming chat. I'm not reading chat right now, but I see a lot of messages from your player, so please don't segment. Please don't do that. It's one of the like 3 chat rules I have. Okay, so here what we're gonna do is say compute width needed. And this is gonna be the number of characters, which we had said is what, 8? And then n. And then just string by that. Okay, so now we run that zigzag conversion. And I forgot to call convert, so let's do that here. Width needed is 5, is that correct? 1, 2, 3, 4. No, it's not. Let's try again. Oh, give me a sec. I gotta do something really fast. Okay, there. Okay, should break in, then I'll try to figure out what's going wrong here. Now, part of the reason I don't want to read chat for these first parts is because I might be going down totally the wrong path, but this is what I would likely have done in an interview. And then eventually I want to correct and figure out, okay, what should I have done? So number of rows is 3. Number of columns with 1 character is now 1. So the width starts at 1, and we check to see if 3... Oh, I see what we're doing. Okay, so we can't fit that. So now we add hopefully just one of these, right? Yeah, starting max is 4, width equals 2. This seems like it's fine. I wonder how I... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. Oh, I'm returning 1 higher than what I need. So we just need to start width at 0? That doesn't make any sense, though. No, that doesn't make any sense. Let's just try with smaller numbers. So I'll try with 3 and see what that returns. Width need is 1, that's correct. Now 4 should return 2. Yeah, so that's what's wrong. It's this breaking, and this should have been greater than. Yep, that's why. That should have been why. That wasn't why. Starting max is 4. If it's greater than or equal to num characters, which it should be at that point, then we break, right? Okay, I guess let's debug this then. I shall get there. So width is 1 and our width is 2 at this point. Starting. Oh, we're bringing out the for loop. Oh my god. That's why I'm being silly here. Yeah, so I would need this over here as well. All right, and again, I would clean this up. These are the kinds of things I kind of just do as I'm going through. Yeah, so now let's make sure it makes sense for the number that we had. And then what if we said this is 7? Good. Okay, so I'm just making sure that these things match. And I guess same thing here. If we said it's 11, should be 5. If we say it's 15, it should be 7. Yep, good. So that's working. Now what about these numbers? So let's just copy paste these here and try this out. So if we say we have 4 characters, then the width should be 1. Yep, good. If we say we have 5 characters, width should be 2. 6 should be 3. Should have just done this in a for loop, so I didn't need to keep typing everything, but I'm done after these last couple of things that we have here. 10 is 4, 11 is 5, and let's try a number in between, 8. 8 should be 4. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so we have the width. I'm going to scroll up in chat now. Let me see. I think these are fun problems to do in isolation. Like, it's cool to solve problems as a programmer. I don't think it's cool to solve problems as a programmer when it's in order to get a job. I think that it's not as cool. I see, Gan. I hope things look up. I really like how you're typing out and putting in words all that you think. Thanks, Varun. No idea what's going on, but I'm like, I'm doing technical interview prep. Yeah. Yeah. And the I++ instead of ++I, it doesn't really matter. Yeah. They do have different semantics when they are written as post increment and pre increment as in something like A equals I++. This will be different from this. But in a for loop, it doesn't really matter, and I just prefer typing it ++I. What am I using to help me debug? I'm just using nodes, inspect break, and then using Chrome to connect to it. You really need a statement that breaks if you already have the conditions inside your while loop? No, so I wouldn't. And that's why I'm saying I could clean this up, but that's not something I'm going to worry about right now. Those are the kinds of things that I think are micro optimizations from an algorithm perspective. Yes, this is super ugly code. Yes, I would want to fix this, but I like getting the algorithm first. So what Player's saying is there is a pattern, by the way. So I think I should take a look at that. But I want to continue with this way for now, because like I said, during an interview, this is what I would do. And then afterward, we'll consider, could we have done this in a much more clever way? So here's the width needed for the grid. So now we want to make a grid. Grid is an array for let I equals 0, I is less than, I like using variables here, I guess like this. 0, y is less than num rows, plus plus y. Grid dot push an array, row equals this. And then the row is going to be, apparently we could just say array width. Is that right? 5 empty item. Yeah, that's probably fine. VS Code does have a debugger built in, and I just use Chrome's. Okay, so now we have an empty grid. Now the next difficult problem is figuring out what the positions of all of these things are. And it's going to follow something kind of like what we did here, because we just emit all of these and then read from the grid. So let's get the read from the grid code next. So for x equals 0, x is less than width. And for y equals 0, y is less than height, which is num rows. So reading from this will be like this. So if grid y x, then string plus equal char, and that's it. Return the string at the end. So we need code in the middle to emit to this grid. Now emit letters to the grid in the right order. So how do we do this? How about we say, well, s dot length is greater than 0. So there's unshift, which will give us the first character, I believe. I always test this out. 1, 2, 3. A dot unshift. No, that gives us a 3. What is it that gives us the first one? There's some operator that gives you this. Oh yeah, how could that give you 3? No. No. JavaScript pop from beginning of array. Pop is the beginning? That doesn't make sense. Pop, push, shift, and unshift methods. Yeah, it's one of these. Moving from end, using splice to remove array elements. Push, add multiple, push, shift. Shift removes the first. Oh, it's not unshift. Unshift adds. Yeah. Ugh. Okay, that was just a a little blip. Okay, so we have a character. Now what we want to do is we first want to go down the array until we hit the maximum. So I guess we can keep track of like an x and a y here. X equals 0, y equals 0. So grid y x equals a character, and then y plus plus. If y equals rows, then x plus plus, and y minus minus. So we can't do things this way. Yeah, unless we keep track of direction too. I'm going to do things this way for now. Switch direction. Case down is this. And in this case, we want to say direction equals right. Yeah, and this is going to be another one of those cases where this is a little bit broken. So this is x plus plus, and then if y equals 0, then direction equals down again. And I think we don't need this here. No, this will fail. Yeah, this will fail because of how I'm emitting this at the very beginning. So yeah, I'm gonna write some ugly code here for a sec. Okay. Let's try that. So where's an example input? Here. Where's our code? Convert. We have a string and we have num rows. Num rows is, let's say, 4. S.shift is not a function. What is S? Oh, S is a string? Oh, okay. Well, then we can convert it to an array. Input as array equals split. So now we need this. This one actually doesn't matter. The rest should be fine. That didn't work. That didn't work at all. Printing the grid would actually be helpful. Yeah. That way we know we formed this correctly, which I might not have done. Whoops, that happens over here. So xy, we want to say row equals empty, row plus equal char, and then console.log row. Aha! It's trying to make puns. I knew it. It says pun defined. So, yeah, I definitely messed that up. Y plus plus, if y equals num rows, then x plus plus y minus minus and direction equals right. And we'll output that character. And then if we're going right, we're going to keep going up and to the right. And if y equals 0, we're going to go downward. It's actually y equals -1, we're going to go downward, right? Yeah. Okay, so then let's do another thing here. Let's say character equals this or just a space. Well, underscores are probably better. That way we can tell that there's something there. Yeah, so this is going way too far down. What did I mess up? Our number of rows should be 4, yeah. So when we get to this, well, let's debug. And then I will read chat when I'm done with this part. And then we'll try to come up with a much better way of doing things here. Clear that breakpoint. Put this here. So grid should be... Wait, what does grid need for this? It's this, which is 14 characters. So we need width 7. So it should be 4 rows by 7 columns. Yeah, so 4 rows of 7 columns each. Perfect. That part's fine. Now we go through here and we get some things to debug. So we want the character, we want the X, we want the Y. All right, now let's keep going. Nerf Prime, welcome back. Thank you for the 7 months. So YX, is going to be P. Okay, good. Now we add 1. Oh, whoops. I forgot a break. Oh, man. I've been using 3 different languages that don't have breaks on their switch cases. Go, Rust, and GDScript. And in all of more modern languages now, they don't want you to fall through cases. And I haven't... Yeah, okay. So this is now just going in the wrong direction. Y plus plus. Am I printing wrong? I don't think I'm printing wrong. I'm doing the zigzag thing. It's just going in the... Oh no, everything is rotated because it's printing out as 7 rows. Yeah, whoops, I gotta change this iteration. Except for this one actually would be correct. No, we still want to go by rows. Okay, we're getting closer. So now we have the right zigzag, right? The first one is correct, and then we just don't subtract a 1 where we should. It's still going to be there. Yeah. Yeah, and then same thing here. I need to do x plus plus another time. No. It's that should have been 0, that's all. And then y minus minus. I'll get there. I'll just keep tweaking things until something works. So it's right after here that we switch, and the y value is wrong. There we go. I finally got it. And we got the right answer too, right? Yes. Okay, so let's just run this code through. Like I said, this is super ugly. A lot of ways I could clean this up. Well, let's see if it's the right answer. And I'll read through chat. Line 50, runtime error. Cannot set property 1 of undefined. What's the input? A, B, and 1? Sure. Throw a wrench into this thing. Okay, we gotta wait for this. There we go. Okay, so it's here. What's happening? Y is -1 because the number of rows is 1. So I can't do this. I guess if the number of rows is this, then we can always just set y equal to 0. And I don't need to worry about that anymore, right? And same thing here, if y equals 0. Yeah, let's try that. Hey, we got it. Okay, so we paste that in, hit submit. Hopefully get the right answer. Wait. What? What happened here? Standard out has my console log. Are they judging this by console log or by return value? I messed up something basic. I think now I broke the standard case by fixing this for a specific case. Yeah. Oops. Yeah, this is broken. That's a property 2 of undefined. Sorry, this problem is taking quite a long time. I think during an interview I'd be like, well, I'm not getting the job. That'd be the only thing going through my head. So we'll go through this again. We get this, and it's going to fail at... So we're at the P right now. We need to get to the A, I believe. Yeah, so there's the A, and then this is what's broken, yeah. And it's because the Y and X are wrong now. Y is -1. Let's try that again. Yeah, as soon as I get the answer to this, I'll go through chat, and then we'll try to find a better solution to this too. Okay, so I want the breakpoint there. Good. So x is 1, y is 0. And now what's going wrong? That part's fine. Wait, is that fine? 1, 0. No, that's not right. Oh, man. Yeah, this is supposed to be numbers minus 1. Actually, minus 2, right? And this is where we had the problem. Math.max 0 and then that. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's it. Drat. So A, B, C, and 1 is causing this to fail now. I'll get this soon. So we get to this. Y is set to 0. Good. Then we go to the next one. And now what is our x and y? 1, 0. That's fine. Oh, because direction is right. Okay, never mind. So we want to consider this to be down if it is already greater than. All right. I understand. So numerals equal to this, numerals minus 2. And then if y is less than 0, I'll just do this. Like I said, this is super ugly, and I know there's some ugly code here. I think it's very easy to clean up some little parts of this than to completely remake my algorithm. So that's why I'm committing these ugly hacks. How do I keep ending up with these cases being broken? So in this case now we have this of length 2. Okay, and then this is what's broken. What does a diagonal look like when this... Oh, actually, I don't... They didn't give an example of this, of what this should look like. A, B, C, D, and we have 2 rows. So it'd be A and then B. And then does it just go like this, I wonder? Or is this supposed to be here and then this is supposed to be here? Because I don't know what that should look like. Well, my code's breaking, so it's not like it's not even returning a value. So we get to B. And at this point it's already, no, it's fine. And what is direction at this point? Direction is right. Number of rows minus 2. So I guess if it's less than or equal to 0, we say it's down. Okay, I don't know. Maybe that's finally it. Output limit exceeded? What does that mean? Details. What? What are the details? What does this mean? It passed all the test cases. No, come on. Am I? Oh, it's because I'm printing things? Oh my god. That's why? I didn't realize you had to get rid of those. I thought they just turned them into no ops for you. Okay, there we go. All right, so now let me read through chat. Okay, yeah, does anyone have a link to the problem? So I'll link this into chat now. I don't know if someone already gave it to you. There we go. Yeah, the case break I definitely had missed. Yeah. And I'll take a look at this in a bit, player. I want to first figure out if there's a smarter solution. Yeah, I think break by default is better as well. And what color scheme is that? For my editor, it's the theme command. And the difficulty of this one was medium. And great, Penguin. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. What kind of jobs would offer these kinds of interviews? You can't really genericize to like big tech companies because even small tech companies kind of do this. So it's pretty much just tech companies is all I could probably say. I have one interview question for you. Am I succeeding? You know what type of job level you're interested in getting? Yeah, a senior developer position or like a principal developer position. And you might look at this and you might say, wait a second, this guy is failing at interview questions and I can do these. And I've been saying this repeatedly and will probably continue to say this. And even if I'm hiring 50 people, I'll probably continue to say this, which is that these technical questions don't really align with any job I've ever had. Yes, I come up with algorithms and I just do them in such a different way with no pressure. And I look into what other people have done. I build on that code. I look into open source. I maybe use a library. I feel like what you do as a developer is more glue than innovation. You are a bottle of glue and somebody squeezes you out onto the canvas that is your coding editor. How did I swap lines between two lines of code? You can always look at the keyboard shortcuts that you have in a text editor, and you can. So for me, I used Alt Up, but you'll need to set it to whatever you want it to be. So it's called Move Line Up. So just look through those. What happened with the React Game project? You mean Botland? That's discontinued. If you type the postmortem command, find out. Slightly smarter solution. You don't need a 2D array. All you care about is a relative position. The index doesn't matter. So you can just append each letter to the correct sublist in a list. No, that doesn't make sense to me. Hey, Coppercasted. Pasting Python code in Twitch is gonna like totally mess everything up because they don't maintain formatting. So you'd have to paste it into like Pastebin or something first. Do you think a junior front end dev would get this kind of question in the interview? It depends on what kind of company. Yeah, it could. The most insight we gain is asking them to solve a couple of fairly simple problems. Yeah. You explicitly wouldn't solve anything like this. You'd be told to leave if you tried problem. Yeah, Nerf Prime. I still feel like I don't know. I guess here's probably what went through most companies' heads when they thought about this is, hey, we need some way to know if our candidates actually know how to code. So okay, let's give them coding problems. And then there's a lot of pressure. So then they probably thought, you know what, let's have them take home the coding problems and they can do it on their own time. I think both of those are just bad. I still think pair programming is the best, but it doesn't really scale that well. Okay, yeah, yeah, got it. Okay. So, player, when you had said try the example using digits instead, were you saying that this is to find a better solution, or just it's easier to see 1, 2, 3, 4 than A, B, C, D? Because what I was wondering this whole time is this is the kind of question that is it seems like a coding question, but it might have been a math question. Like you have something like this, and you could look at it as okay, well, we use 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then we read it as 0, 6, 1, 5, 7, 2, 4, 3. So we're reading it across instead of down, and that's how we get these numbers. Is there some way we could generate this without even needing to compute anything else? And maybe there's a way, maybe there's some like super clever way of doing this, and maybe not, and it'd be really hard to see this pattern, I think. Is there a way to ping? Oh, to pin it. Oh, yeah, I could probably do that. I think maybe what I could do is just put the tag for this and then people could type it in. But yeah, that would probably work. Let me see if I've got some text set up for that. And text leak code. Okay, so leak code. So current leak code problem. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna do this problem again. Is that text even on the screen? I can't tell where it is. Let's just do this. Ah, there it is. It's gigantic. Be less gigantic. This is huge. I can't. Nope, there we go. Hooray, we did it. There. Just put this above my head. Yeah, thanks for the suggestion, Christopher. Yeah. Embrax, I saw that, the Python implementation of the problem. I am going to take a look at this stuff. I want to see. You can do it with math, but it's not clean. Oh, okay. Got it, player. Okay. Yeah, so I want to see, they've got hints for these things sometimes. I do want to look at the solution that they suggested. There are no hints for this one. Okay, and so we have a couple of things from chat. So let's look at chat solutions here. So here's a code share. Is there a way to just zoom in with the browser? Yeah, so this is another thing. These are the kinds of introductions to the code that I think are good once you're cleaning things up. We have two directions. We have down and right. So what else has two options? A Boolean value. So I could use a Boolean value too. I think that's definitely good. Let's see. Rows row equals row plus SI. What is rows containing? Oh, there's strings. I see. Oh yeah, this is much cleaner than what I did, for sure. Okay, that's pretty interesting. So here's what this way is summarized as kind of a picture. So we have this. Our input is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and then plus 4. So as in that's a number of rows. So we start with 4 strings. And basically you just keep emitting to the end of a string. So here we say A, B, C, D. Then you go up E, F, G, H. That is so much easier. Yeah. Because you don't need to do the crazy stuff that I did for this to work. Yeah, I think it's a good solution. Now let's look at the other couple of things. This is definitely good. I want to write this down somewhere. I'm not sure exactly how we'll write this down. Write down about zigzagging. So I was generating a 2D array when it's better to just push to strings and go up or down as you blip. Where are the other links? Here. Okay, so Metalstorm did one, Python about 20 lines. And they said just works out the verts and diags, doesn't print them. Wait, what? Hang on, let me read this. I is less than the length of the string. Print a bunch of hyphens, so that's here. Then for R in range I plus rows. Okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah, I got it. Hey, Green Dog. And no problem. No, renovating is tough work. Please also note handling a case where number rows equals 1 if you're answering a tech coding question. Start with the simplest. I think starting with the simplest is sometimes a good idea and sometimes not. So for example, if you are, let's say you're working with a binary tree, chances are whatever you write for your solution is going to work for a tree of depth 1. And so you don't need to write a special thing for that. And so there are going to be a lot of cases where that's sort of the case where you're like, find the largest number in an array. And if the array's length is 1, you don't necessarily need to say, okay, we're going to return that as the number. Your algorithm would still just be fine as a for loop. And if the array's length is 1, it's just going to find the first number. I think it's good from a thought angle and not from a coding angle necessarily to think of that case. And that is one of the things I wrote down here is like break the problem down. Yeah. consider a case where there's one input, a smaller tree, etc., less complex constraints. Yeah. Okay, and then there's one more code snippet that Brax typed in. Let's go take a look at that. So there's a list comprehension of buffers created to equal the number of rows. Okay, never mind. I thought that was something built in. Here we go. Yield from range rows. And then yield from range rows -2, 0, -1. That is very clever. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's pretty good. So this is a coroutine that's going to go down first, and then it'll work its way back up. That's what the -1 is. And we're using what Player's solution was here too, where you have a list of strings that you're just iterating or you're appending to across. So that idea that was over, I don't know where it is. Yeah, I lost the tab. Well, anyway, pretty interesting. So what are your complaints in general when it comes to technical interviews? My biggest complaint is that the technical interviews don't usually match the job you're applying for. So, like I said, I've worked at several companies. I have done my own thing for the last 5 years. And what I do does not resemble what's in these interviews. So this I want to write down. Although I'm not sure if this is worth doing. Let's say specific problems and interesting approaches. So I'll say, I don't want to make this section too long, so let's just do this. LeetCode, what is it, zigzag conversion? The problem was to output a string as output a zigzagged string, and the best solution seems to be to append to an array of strings. I don't know how to represent this because this is so much easier with video or with a drawing. I don't feel like drawing something out. So i.e. the solution starts with 4 strings like this. And as you encounter characters, you either output to change the row of the string you're outputting to by +1 or -1. Okay. Here, Amy. I have rec clap. I don't have wowie hands. There was something else that someone wanted me to use from Better Twitch TV emotes, and I just haven't enabled it yet. Hey, Timmy. Process you go through is just as important as the solution. Yeah. Yeah, and these are the things that I feel like there are a couple of ways of burning this candle. One is practice to the point where your mind snaps to the right answer faster, and the second is approach each problem as though it's going to be the most complex problem you're encountering, and how can you split it up and come up with other things. And I think this is exactly what causes bugs to happen, is when you make an assumption that you haven't validated yet. Yeah, but Kiwi, I think what I'm trying to say is that I think you can fail miserably at an interview and still be a good coder, and the interview wouldn't have told you anything about that they're a good coder. Like, you can come to the wrong conclusion about someone from that. What am I working on? Check out that today command, Timmy. I'm doing some research into color blindness. You alright with me posting the form here? So, yeah, sure, Amy. That's fine. Yeah. Okay, so let's move on. I don't remember what tab we were in to be able to move on. Yeah, here we go. They should always do more than one interview. But if they, let's say they do incorrectly conclude from one interview that you're not a good fit, they won't want to do another interview. And yeah, and what Cubic says is true too. You can be very good at the interview questions and bad at working with your teammates. Actually, I think you can also be good at interview questions and then just bad at turning it into a product. Because I think these interview questions are a lot about optimization, and you might think, well, I'm going to optimize the heck out of this algorithm and just forget about the business priorities. Okay, so implement A to I. This again, hang on, whoa. One thing we got to do before we move on is why did this get downvoted so badly? Is it just because of the blatant advertising? Nobody says. Yeah, because like I said, if you ever see this ratio of upvotes to downvotes, something's usually bad about this question. But I feel like the question's fine. Even the number of submissions, it's like a half success rate almost, a third. And yet it got downvoted. And this one too got really downvoted. Maybe this one got downvoted because a lot of languages include something like this by default, which is just parse int in this case. But let's write our own version of this. What is this? Numbers out of the range of the 32-bit signed integer, therefore int min is returned. Oh, I see. Okay, so implement A to I, which converts this. Okay, so now let's first change our text blob over here. Whoops. I'm clicking things randomly in OBS over here. And now this doesn't fit. Oh, it does fit. It's just that the I is cut off for me. You guys can read that, right? Okay, hopefully you can read it. So the function first discards as many whitespace characters as necessary until the first non-whitespace character is found. Then, starting from this character, takes an optional initial plus or minus sign followed by as many numerical digits as possible and interprets them as a numerical value. The string can contain additional characters after those that form the integral number, which are ignored and have no effect on the behavior of this function. Okay, so this is just to get you to stop yourself from using parse int, which is built into the language. If the first sequence is not a valid number, or if no such sequence exists because it's empty or contains only white space, no conversion is performed. If no conversion can be performed, 0 is returned. Only space is considered white space, and assume we're dealing with an environment in which we could only store integers. Okay, so what they said is you have any number of spaces, then you have, so any number of spaces, then there's a plus, an optional plus or minus, then there could be a number, and then there could be anything else after the number. So this immediately makes me think, okay, let's get a regex and let's capture the minus and the, well, I should put that in a string, the minus and the numbers themselves, and then reject everything else. And if there is no captured number, then we return 0. Oh, I see, nerf prime. Yeah. So this is just a regex. Then what we have to do is actually go through the conversion here. And there's one other rule, which is that if we are out of bounds of this range, then we need to return -2 to the 31. Okay, so I guess the very first thing we'll do is save this. Put a link to the problem and copy what they had here. So the first thing I wanted to do was match, let's see, like sign and digits, string.match. And we want any number of white space to just be pretty much ignored. And then a capturing group and a plus or a minus. and then another capturing group and any number of digits. And that's it, right? And who cares about the rest? It can have anything else, dot star. All right, and I don't know what this actually looks like. So let's just print that out. Only valid space is the white space, or is the space? Yeah, you're right. Thanks, Sai. Yeah. Okay, so let's print that, my A2I. So a bunch of spaces and then like plus 4, 5, 6, and then A, B, C, D. So what does this print? Node string to integer. So yeah, we got the plus and we got the 4, 5, 6. There's a bunch of stuff I have to test this with now. So now let's put a minus. Good, we got minus 4, 5, 6. Now let's put nothing. We get empty and 4, 5, 6. Okay, good. And then if we don't have spaces at all, yep. If you ever get a question like this, it's expected to loop through. I mean, is it? I feel like the interviewer, if they say, hey, that's great, you got this done, but hey, now loop through it. I think that's what would happen in an interview. That's the whole point of having a human there rather than giving this as a homework question, is that they'll just tell you what they expect. Okay, so now that we have that, now we always know that the second thing, oh wait, no, we should try one more time with something that doesn't match, A, B, C, D. Oops, doesn't really matter what I type. Now it's null. Okay, so then if it's null, return 0. So the sign is going to be, we'll just write ignored, sign, and what's the last one? Digits, the number, equals sign and digits. So we're destructuring into here. And so now we should have this set up, and I'll print these things out should we ever need them as we're debugging. But I don't think I want to go any further than that. So now we type like plus 4, 5, 6. Okay, great. So we only care when the sign is negative. The plus we just ignore completely. Yeah. So now we convert this into a number and then apply the negative not. So is negative equals sign equals a hyphen. And then we want our converted number. And if is negative, for number times equal -1, return the converted number. And we need one other thing here. If converted number is, what do they say? If it's out of range of this, then one of, I'll just copy paste the whole thing. Okay, so converted number is less than -2 2 to the 31, then we need to return -2 to the 31. And if it's greater than 2 to the 31 minus 1, then we return 2 to the 31 minus 1. So we could clamp here, but we need to know that it hit those bounds. So I feel like we've gotten everything now except for the conversion part, right? So now we're going to convert the number. So the way we could do this is either from the left or the right. I think we will go from the right and add this up. And so when I think about this, like 452, we can pop off the last number by just doing num %10. And so we get 2 as our digit. And you know, it's funny, actually, we could just use parseInt for this if we wanted to. In fact, if I wanted to just test my solution, although I'm pretty sure that's not the point of this, although maybe it is. So if I say number and then 10, then technically we should be fine now. Yeah, so if we wanted to try running this, we could. And then we could write our own parseInt, although I feel like we've done that for a past problem anyway. So words and this. Oh, it actually got us our number? Oh, so this is where the regex has failed us. Yeah. So how would we get around that? I guess we just put a caret here. Yeah, that should be fine. I'm pretty sure at least. I broke it. Aw, man. Oops, that's zigzag conversion. Sign in digits is not iterable. I wonder what it is. Yeah. There's something happening here where it doesn't match, but it doesn't return null. What is it? It didn't print anything. Oh, no, there it is. It's null. Oh, I just wrote if null. Oh my God. I don't know where that came from, but I clearly never meant to write that. Yeah. Okay, now what do we have here? Output is this, and it expected the output to be negative. Did I not multiply? I wonder. Well, let's test it. Sign is negative, and the number is 9128, blah, blah, blah. And that's going to be... Oh, I see what they're saying. They're saying multiply by this before you do the check. Okay. I originally... Okay, that I blame on me reading the problem wrong, because I thought at first that you were only supposed to return negative 2 to the 31st if it was out of bounds no matter what. And then I read more and I never corrected it. Yeah. So then the way we would do this in an interview is potentially one of two ways. So we have working code, and there are two things that they might take exception to. One is using a regex instead of going over the string ourselves, and two is using parseInt instead of writing our own function. So I will write a function for this now. Yeah. So function my parseInt, we have a string, and we know at this point that it's a set of numbers. So the way that I was going to do this is we keep popping off the last digit, and we put it onto the new number. What do you think about that? I'd probably add them to an array actually. Let me try. So we'll say digits, and while s is greater than 0, digit equals s percent 10, s divided by. So there's that, and then digits.push digit. So now we have our digits. Let's see if that at least works. So we're going to just type 452. 254. Okay, good. So then what I want to do is, I guess, unshift. So now it's 452, and then we just convert that into a number. So I equals 0. It's less than digits.length. So num plus equal. No, I do want to go in the opposite direction, right? Digits I times math.pow digits.length minus I minus 1 and 10. And then return the number. Although let's print it out as well. Yeah, that works. Okay, so there's my own parseInt, and now I could use this instead if I wanted to. So my parseInt. And we don't pass in a radix. This isn't proper in any other base than 10. But now we hit submit, and our code gets even slower. Okay, great. Yeah. Yeah, if anyone doesn't know about regex 101, by the way, that site is amazing. So let's say we took this regex and we pasted it in here, and now you can just type anything like words 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think you need to, oh, it's got a G already. Oh yeah. So plus 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can see exactly what's being matched and what won't be matched. And this lets you test really quickly, and then you can hover over these things and see exactly what each one means. Yeah, how can you do it without using array? I saw what you had asked. And so I would need to think about that a little more. We could build up the array as we iterate or sorry, build up the number as we're iterating over this. So here we're getting the ones digit at any given point. And so we could keep track of the power of 10 that we're on. Power of 10 equals 0. And then our number is 0. And so we say number plus equal math.pow 10 pow of 10. And that'll be this digit times that, and then pow of 10 plus plus. I think this will work, and then we just delete this. Let's try that. Pow of 10 plus plus is constant. Man, I can't tell you how many times I do that. Yeah, there we go. That works. Yeah. Yeah, I want to highlight what Rami said, by the way, if anyone didn't see that in chat. Doing a bit of research into color blindness and how this affects someone's experience when playing a game, what developers are currently doing to maximize the experience. If you have a form of color blindness or are a developer that's worked on something related, would you fill in this anonymous form? So yeah, if you fit the bill, do check that out. Many technical interviews don't let you run code. Have you tried doing these problems without testing until the end? I have not, and I would probably end up coding very differently in that case. But then again, I find that you hone the skills you use, and knowing that in real world development I can always test things out, I run things that way. So I don't try to write my code perfectly at first. And you'll see that almost never will I type a program and it just works off the bat. And I just eventually I rely on error output and incorrect runtime behavior. Now this is why some people go with test driven development. I don't think you'd ever do that during an interview. Especially if you can't run code, because then you can't run your tests. But yeah, I'd have to approach it differently. What link are we talking about? I will paste in what Rami said. Okay. All right, so there's something else I want to do, which is like, is it worthwhile for me to keep my own functions that I wrote around specific problems and interesting approaches? And then I'll just write like general techniques. But this probably isn't the best way to write parseInt. Parsing a string representing a number to base 10 in JavaScript. This is public. It can be for someone as a hint. Oh yeah, this is public. Yeah, this is in my notes. You guys can see that. So I'll write method number 1. Well, not even method number 1, just this. This is the whole thing. So delete that, and delete this, and I think we're good now, right? 0, get the digit, do that, num, 10 plus plus, yeah. Yeah, this will work. Okay, now let's copy it over to here and submit this one more time. We want LeetCode to store as much code as possible for me. I create micro-test frameworks for these kinds of problems. A function named test that outputs strings. Yeah, what I meant, Godik, is that the question was, imagine if you couldn't run code. Yeah, AHX was asking this. And so if you can't run code, then you can't do test-driven development, because in order for it to be test-driven, you have to be able to run code. But I agree, yes, in general, if you're doing test-driven development, you would write a small test for this. You do not test it. Yeah. You can do test-driven development without running code. I mean, I guess you could write the tests without being able to run the tests, but then I feel like that defeats the whole purpose of test-driven development. I feel like the very first thing you do with test-driven development is write the tests and make sure they fail. And you technically can't even make sure they fail without running them. Yeah. Anyway, okay, so let's move on to the next one. So that was that. We'll move on to container with most water. Oh, neat. Okay, so given n non-negative. Oh, wait. First things first. Gotta update this. So if anyone wants to ever do this, they can. Hey, Ubi. Okay, so given n non-negative integers, where each represents a point at coordinate I, AI. Okay. N vertical lines are drawn such that two endpoints of line I. The two endpoints as it. Okay, yeah, I understand. So this graph kind of explains everything. Find two lines which together with the x-axis form a container such that the container contains the most water. Very interesting. So this is about local maxima, I suppose, because these are all considered to be, they all take away from the water stored in here. So if all of these lines were sevens, this would hold incredibly little water because it'd just be this rectangle at the, wait, no, would it even work that way? No, what are these red lines? No, I think I'm wrong about that. Because here they're saying the red lines hold the most water, but this is actually, they're two containers. Uh, yeah, that is what they're saying. So this is 7 away. So 7 times 7 is 49. Okay, so then it's not what I was saying is the problem. Okay. Really struggle to keep up with the math on parsing implementation. I hate myself for it. Where would you advise to freshen up for this, something like that? I think, if Veshnik, if you're talking about what I had just done with this, so I think part of this is just realizing how base 10 works, how any base works. So this, by the way, is called a radix X. And what we think of is generally base 10, and programmers generally think in one of three things: base 2, base 10, base 16. And so the difference is going to be what numbers you're allowed to have, and it's always up to the base. So we have 0, 1, we have 0 through 9, we have 0 through F. Okay, so when we look at 452 in decimal, what we're really saying is that this is 2 times 10 to the 0th plus 5 times 10 to the 1st plus 4 times 10 to the 2nd. And this is how every number works in every base system. So if we have this number, what we're really saying is it is 1 times 2 to the 0, so our radix is different, plus 1 times 2 to the 1, plus 0 times 2 to the 2, plus 0 times 2 to the 3rd, plus 1 times 2 to the 4th. So this is our number, and I can't actually execute this because this is not the exponentiation operator in JavaScript. But if we were to change this to double times, this is the number 19. And you can verify that really quickly by just thinking about this. It is 1 plus 2, there's no 4, there's no 8, plus 16. So 1 plus 2 plus 16 is the 19 that we just saw that equal to. So what I'm doing here is representing that same thing. I know that we're in base 10, so I just assume it's power of 10. And since as we move to the left, we're increasing the power of 10, that's why we're incrementing this. So hopefully that explains what's going on here. So yeah, it's not about local maxima, right? I guess not. I was thinking if this were in real life, obviously water can't flow through this bar here, and that all of these would subtract from the water. So this isn't as bad, but now I got to figure out what does this even mean from, because ignoring code, how do we figure that out from just looking at this sort of thing? So I guess what they're kind of saying, can I copy this? Guess what they're kind of saying is that this would form its own container from here to here. Should draw this in a different color. Okay, so this would form this container, and this would be of size 6 or 12. I guess 12. Yeah. So this is size 12. This one would be size 6. This one would be size 20. So I see kind of how that works. All right. So first thing I think of is we could get every possible container. That's the naive approach, brute forcing this thing where we get like this container and this container and so on and so forth, and then all of these as we go forth as well. There's probably a way we can cut this down. I'm going to do some just drafting here. So brute force would be get every container and compute its size. And by the way, some code notes here. We'll need a function for compute container size and like left index, right index. This will return a number. Okay, so is there any way we can cut out certain considerations here? Because we can't always assume that it's going to be the tallest containers at all. So for example, if I drew a graph like this, then the largest container is the shortest ones, because it's these. And so this is like a calculus problem of maximizing area. And I don't think I'm going to look at it from a calculus perspective, because then I'm going to struggle quite a lot. So is there some way we can narrow down that a particular container is large without having to do the brute force way of this? Yeah, nothing's coming to mind for this right now. I'm trying to think of how can we cut out a bunch of searches from having to get every single container that we have here and doing them all. And so I'm all right, thinking out loud. I wonder if there's some way that we can reuse a computation here. So we know that we don't need to consider any. Yeah, that's true. We don't need to consider any of these if we know that they're bounded by two bigger ones. So we actually can consider it to be a local maxima problem. Yeah, because then none of these checks are going to matter. Okay. So knowing that, then how do we compute this? We always go from this to whatever the next. Well, we feel like this to whatever the next tallest container is, and then we stop. All right, yeah, that cuts out tons and tons of searches. So for each like bar on the graph, go until the next bar that's taller. No, that's not actually true. Yeah, no, go until the next bar that's taller or the end of the graph. And then compute the area. And then continue from the last bar checked. Okay, that's what I think it is. This sounds much more reasonable to me, and I don't think we could get an improvement on that. That's my guess. And then it's basic area computation, I think. Okay, now I'll read chat. Let me see. Yeah, poor Octals. I know Octal is supported natively in a lot of languages. I have never once used it. And I imagine that's true for a lot of programmers. I've used base 16, I've used base 2, I've used obviously base 10. But yeah, never purposely typed an octal number, and I've accidentally typed them and it's completely messed things up because you type something like 070 and in I think in JavaScript this will get interpreted as 56. Yeah, it does. And almost never will you want that to be the case. So that's annoying. How do you run the selected line in VS Code like that? That's called VS Code eval. That extension is amazing. So yeah, if you type the VS Code command, you'll find out more about this. Aren't you parsing an int into another int? You're parsing a string representing an integer into an int. Okay. Yeah, rips the line text. That had an eval function too. So yeah, I'm seeing some suggestions in chat to start from both ends and work the way in. I wonder if starting at one end and working our way over is going to be different in this case. In terms of number of buckets searched, it won't be different, but in terms of how to find the ends of those buckets, it will. Yeah. So the time complexity won't change, but the coefficient in front of the time complexity. So I suppose that is good. So we can start from both ends and work our way inward. And so how do we know when to stop here? So like this and this don't form a container. We would need to search everything internally as well, right? Yeah. Why wouldn't they form a container? They don't, because there's a excuse me, there's a taller one here that makes it so that the water is all contained in this space and then none would overflow into this. Okay, so I'm gonna start with this. Let's go save this as container with most water. And we have max area height. And then how does this work? This is heights, not height. I see. 2 lines. Okay. So we're going to say left index equals 0. And we're going to iterate over this thing. I is less than heights dot length. And let's look at our graph again. I find this to be very helpful. So we're going to start somewhere. So this is where we're starting at. And we want the height of that particular thing. And then we want the next one that's higher than it. So we'll say like var find or function find index, find end index of container. And so we have the height that we currently have. I guess we'll just say start index. Yeah. And that way we can do things like this. Height at start equals heights start index. We also, of course, need the heights. That'd be pretty important. And then we just go until we find this. So if heights I is greater than or equal to, and it's got to be greater than or equal to, right? This would be the container. No, it's the next one after is less than it, right? No, that's not true. It's just whatever's greater than this. And so what do we do if these are the same height? No, or we've gotten to the end of the array. Yeah. So it's greater than the height at the start, then return I. Otherwise, return heights.length minus 1. So I think this is the right function for this. So we start at the left index and we work our way over. We're going to say end index of container. I'm renaming this to heights. Doesn't make sense for it to be called height. Okay, so now we have a start index and an end index, and now I want to do function find area of container. Yeah, start index, end index, height. So this should just be return end index minus start index times, and then the minimum of the height. Except for I'm not positive that this is correct. Let's see. The area of this, let's just run this. So this is, so start index is going to be 1 and end index is going to be 8. So we have 8 minus 1 times the minimum of 7 and 8. So 7 times 7. Yeah, so I think that's correct. So that's the area of the container. And now our goal is to find the biggest area and return that. Biggest area equals 0. They didn't say what to return if you don't have an area that works at all. So you might get a graph with no height. But anyway, in that case, I guess it'd be 0. So So end index, and then the area equals find area of container, left index, end index, height. And if, I guess just biggest area equals math.max area, biggest area. Okay, so now there's still one part missing, which is to move the left index. So this can just be while true. End index, and then left index equals end index plus 1. If left index is greater than or equal height.length, then break. Return biggest area. All right, will that work? I don't know. How do you copy text? All right, so console.log max area this, and this should return 49, and it goes on forever, which means that we never, well, we messed up something is what that means. And I say we very strongly there. This was not me doing this. This was all of us making this mistake. Again, I want to make it clear to any potential interviewers out there, chat has misguided me. All right, so the end container in this case is 1, which is actually probably correct. Yeah, we go from 0 to 1. And then we find the area of that, which should be 1. Area, art thou 1. Yes, good. And I guess we can also keep track of end index of container and the left index, which I should have just named start index. Then we set this equal to 2. If it's greater than height.length, then we go on. So now end index of that container. No, whoops, no. We need to set this to just the index. So because it becomes the starting. And that was our, no, that's still not the issue. We still have an infinite loop. All right, let's keep going. Did I do, yeah, I did that -1. Good. Come on, break in. Okay. So now we set our left index to 1. We find the end index of that container. It's 8, which is this. The area should be 49. Good. Now we set the left index to 8, and that's greater than or equal to height.length, right? Height.length is 9. Height.length minus 1. We did it. Well, I don't know why I did that. That's a test case they gave us. Wrong hints. Okay, now let's figure out what we're doing wrong by looking at this. So this one, it's saying that the output is 1, but it expected 2. So let's draw this graph to see if it even makes sense to me. So we have this. And the expected output is 2. Oh, it does consider this to be valid? Wait, what? No, that doesn't make any sense. It's going, oh, it always goes through the bars. Oh, wait, I think I had some misunderstanding of this then. What is 1, right? And expected 2, yeah. So it does expect to fill water in here. Oh. Well, then my whole algorithm breaks. Because this means I do need to consider overlapping buckets. In which case this thing that I came up with wouldn't work, right? Go until the next bar that's taller or the end of the graph and compute the area. Yeah, doesn't this mean now that I have to check every single bucket? Yeah, I can't see how we'd get around that now. Because you could have this graph and then like a bunch of these tiny ones. And if you get another million of these, then the area between the first one and the millionth one is going to be 1,000,000. Whereas this area is only going to be 49. And that's what makes me feel like you have to check every single one. But yeah, maybe that's not true with the whole index from both sides thing. How would that work? We start at the outermost thing and we come up with that it's 1,000,000. And I guess we can ignore all the ones that are of the same length or shorter. Yeah, okay. That's, I guess, what we do. So when iterating, or when constricting the search space, we can ignore all, what are these called? All lines. All lines shorter than the current endpoint. No, shorter, no longer than the current endpoint, than the current endpoint's line. There are actually 2 endpoints, so it look like that. Yeah. So when we start by iterating over this here, and then we move all the way left, we will stop considering when we get to here, and then we'll consider starting at this one. Okay, so now we need to code that, which shouldn't be too bad, I guess, right? So we'll call this start index finally. And we'll call end index equals heights.length minus 1. And so we want to start with the container size there. Area. Whoops, deleting random stuff. So figuring out where a container ends. No, these two things don't necessarily even form a container, right? No, they always have to. Yeah, they always have to. The first and the last will always form a container, but it just might be a very short container. Got it. So this end index of container thing, I don't think is ever going to get used anymore. Yeah, I don't think it's going to get used. So this is the area, we set the biggest area, and then we figure out the next start index and the next end index. And do we want to move them both is the next question. Yes, because we'll only find smaller containers if we don't do that. Okay, cool. So let's go figure that out. So what do we want to do? Find next start index. This is the current start index, and here are all the heights. So I equals 0, I equals current start index. I is less than or equal to heights dot. Actually, no, we also need the current end index. I guess let's just return both of them. Find next indices. So I is less than the current end index. Height at start equals heights current start index. So and we said no longer than, right? So we need to go to, did I say no longer than? We ignore all lines no longer than the previous one. So the first time we find one that is longer than it, we want to stop. So if height I is greater than the height at start, then break. So indices start, end. Okay, and now we can set that to our current start index. Actually, we don't have to do that. And we do the same thing for this. I will reach out in a bit. I try to tackle these things on my own at first. Start index minus I. So now same thing, but this is going to be the height at end. Height at end. Then indices dot end equals I, and then return the indices. Yeah, so now we need to check to see if we've hit the end as well. So we get the area, we set the biggest area, and then we get the new indices. Start, end, start, end, height. Because we're just using class would be good. If you find yourself passing the same parameters every single function, we're just saving them in a class would be nice. All right, so what was I going to do now? If the start index is greater than or equal to the end index, then we're done. Yeah, and then that's it. We broke it. Start index isn't defined. Oh, right, because of this. You can't destructure if you already have the variables. Drat. Start index equals start. And out of curiosity, I have it as stop, not as end. Now height isn't defined. It's supposed to be height. And now we got 2. Okay. I think that's the answer then. I should have tested it with the other case, but it's going to run the test for me. Standard out 2. Oh, this is ignored. Output is 40 and expected 49. So I'm probably off by 1, I'm guessing. Oh, no, that's impossible, right? Because I'm off by 1 in both directions. I'm doing like 8 times 5 here. All right, we'll have to step through this one. As I said, we will eventually get to reading chat. I'm not trying to ignore you guys for good, just for now. So let's step through this. So our area at first is 8, and that's because we're considering what? Start and end of the entire array. Yeah. And that's this graph. So an area of 8 is because we're considering this bucket. So that's fine so far. Okay. Now we get the next indices, and we're trying to move to 1 and 6. 1 and 6. 6 would be here. Oh, I guess we do need to move it in 1 at a time. I hadn't considered that. Okay. Yeah, so we need to stop as soon as we found one of these that are bigger. So if indices.start, we could just set these here. So if indices.start is already greater than the start index, then just return. Now I have failed. Okay, let's debug. Let's go back to here. The indices that we're getting back, the start is set to 1 and the end is set to 8. And then what's going on there? We find the area, that's 49. So this is now correct. And what we're always going to find the same things. 6 and 1. We have no reason to actually keep going farther, right? No, we do. Because it could be that that's so much taller that it works out. I rename these start index, end index. Now we're going infinitely. Yeah. So that means that this function is now broken. We're never going to find something that exceeds this. And we're never going to find anything that exceeds this one. So if they're both equal to the start, then we have failed. All right, I'll just write something really fast for this. Again, these are the kinds of things that I would clean up in production code. So if this is the same and this is the same, then we'll just say indices.start equals indices.end plus 1. There, and then that should break out of this for us. That didn't, because this was supposed to be this. Because I'm just typing random things. There we go. All right, does that look good? The wrong answer. But this is a case that we probably hadn't considered already. So we'll have to look at this one and find out what's wrong. So this is expected 55 and we got 48. And yeah, this is very tough to do if we don't graph this out. I wonder if we could just tell plot against natural numbers. I doubt this will work. Would it be amazing if it worked? No, it didn't. Oh, wait, it did. We got a graph. Okay, and then Wolfram Alpha is like, hey, you can't actually zoom in on this without paying us money. But watch this. We worked around that little restriction. with our pixelated zooming. Okay, so it expects it to be 55. This is actually a little bit harder to read than before. We could probably just written bar graph of. But yeah, where do we get to 55 here? 11. So from here to here? That's 44 though. 11 to 13. Yeah, this. So it's this container that forms it of 55. This is 11. This is 13. Whoops, no, that's not. That's 9. And this is 4. And this is 13. Okay, now that we know what that looks like, we will run it again and debug. I wonder what's happening is because I'm always moving the left index forward if I can. But in this case, we want to move the right index inward. And I wonder if we want to move it by whichever one is shorter there. Maybe I just need a -1 here. Yeah, that's it. Okay, give me a sec. This has got to be an indication that I could be doing things like way better. All right, what do we have here? Output is 18, expected 42, but we don't know what this looks like. As the bar chart, can we do that? Oh, how did I even, what? It just got the last 3 numbers? Oh, we did it. Wolfram Alpha's amazing. Okay, so what are we looking at here? So the answer is supposed to be 42, which is 6 times 7. So we're probably going from, oh, it doesn't label the x-axis. Right, William, it's probably from here to here, I'm guessing. Is that 7 bars I've selected? Yes, it is. So 6 times 7. Okay, and then let's look at our code, find out what's going wrong with that. Did I already copy it? Yes, I did. Just waiting for this to start. There we go. So our area first is, because we're considering everything, is from here to here, which is 1 times 9, which should be 9. It's actually 2 times 9. Oh, this is a height of 2. Okay, yeah, so 18, good. Then we find the next indices and we go to 1 to 9. So we put this up to here. So now we're looking at this bucket. And yeah, then the problem is that we're going to find, yeah, so this is what I was saying earlier. I think we need to always go into whatever is closer. So we need to figure out what the new start and the new end would be without ever returning here. Well, this actually does help us. This is fine. So let's do that. Delta end equals indices dot end minus current end index, and delta start is the same way. If delta end is less than delta start, then indices dot start equals current start index. There. How are we doing now? Still finding 18. I wonder what these end up being then. That's not right. I messed something up here. Because the start one had changed by 1, and yet I'm not getting that here. What did I do wrong? I don't know. Let's debug. Yep. Okay, let's go back to this. So we go inward by 1. Now we're going from 1 to 9. That's fine. But then this one should move in by 1, and that's what's not happening. So that's where we're going to step into this function. So our current start is 1, and our current end is 9. We get the heights at those points. So it's 6 and 2. 6 and 2, yep. And we find the next index for the start. Also, I'll need to add more code there. So now indices at start is 7. Oh, whoops, we just bail out early, that's why. Okay, let's get rid of that. All right, I think that might be it. Now it's saying 42, which, oh, that's correct. That was supposed to be 55. So let's paste that. And then I think we're still bad. Wow. Well, let's debug this one too, if I know it's wrong. We'll plot another bar chart here. Yeah, I find this happens actually with a decent amount of interview problems that I've been doing, is that I end up just kind of trudging through these cases and that it doesn't work out. Like that I didn't come up with a generic enough solution the first time. So what is mine printing? Mine's printing 16 and expects 17. And how do we even get those numbers? Because of these 18 to 17. So that's what we need to find here. That means that I'm not considering edge cases, I guess. And then I'm not considering, yeah, I guess I'm just not considering edge cases. So it's going from 1 to 6, because I have my breakpoint at the wrong spot, I suppose. 1 to 6. And then we're going to go to here, and then we're going to go to here. And we won't ever consider, yeah, I see what's going on. So this does imply that my algorithm needs to change. I wonder if the way I should do this is the way that I started with, which was just advancing the start index, and then do another one where I just advance the end index. I feel like that would be much easier. Especially because I had that solution working, and then we can get rid of all these little oddities that I have. Yeah, I think that's better. Unfortunately, where was that solution? There's a way to get back to that because I didn't save that code myself. Give me a sec. Submissions. Enter the most water. Okay, yeah, I have my code. Here it is. So what I had done here, nope, this had a bunch of other stuff. What I had done here is I said go to the end of the list, and we could have done the exact same thing but going to the start of the list. So let's just delete all of that and put everything here. So find end index of container, and we'll say find start index of container. And we pass in the end index. There we go, and we iterate in the opposite direction. Heights.length minus 1, greater than or equal to 0, minus minus. Otherwise return 0. Okay, so this was iterating forward, and that's how we found the biggest index. Then we just do the exact same thing and do it the opposite way. So right index equals heights.length minus 1. And we say find start index. And then I think this should work. So start index and right index. Get the area, set a new right index. If it's less than or equal to 0, then we're done. All right, without even testing this on my own thing, I'm just going to submit it and see what happens. Okay, so it's breaking here. That's where we say console.log max area. So I'm getting 1 and it needs to be 2. Oh, except for I also, oops. Oh, darn it. Okay, I think I should start from scratch on this. I know what I'm doing wrong now. Because there was that other thing that I learned in the meantime that I had forgotten when I undid all my code, which is that the bars need to go from here to here. How had I fixed that? Oh, let's look at what's going on with the code here. Find end index of container. No, so we need to do the second method that I have where we're traversing. We just need to do them separately instead of at once. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna get this one. And then at some point I'll go back and read chat. There'll probably be more chat than I have history in my chat application. So we don't need this function anymore. Find area of container is still fine. Find next indices is okay, except that we're only going to use one of these. So at this point, we just return indices, I'm pretty sure. Yep. Then we get down to here, and we find the next indices, except for we only care about one. So I say start index here, and we get rid of this. And then we can do the exact same thing, but do it with end index. And reset these. Okay, let's try that. Yeah, this never finishes now, and I think I know the reason why. Is because this might not have been set. Yeah. Yeah, so that's where I'll do this. Down here. C's not start, break. And I'll do the same thing over here, which means that we did not move this. Okay, now it's probably the wrong test cases for everything. It's this one that's off. It says I'm outputting 16 and expect 17. Wonder how we even got 16. 4 times 4 right here. Yeah. And I need the 17 times 1. Well, we already have this case laid out. Let's go find out what's going wrong. So the way that this one should work is that, actually it doesn't matter which way we iterate. So I must be doing something wrong with these. Yeah, let's find out why we bail out. But I think we're close. I think I had a couple of broken assumptions at some point. Let's start with this. So our first area is going to consider the entire thing. Area is 12. Then we should advance the start index. Let's print out indices.start. Okay, so we advance it by 1. That's fine. Now it is 2. That's also fine. Then it goes to 3. Also fine. Good. We're doing well so far because it's this graph. So we're 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So now we're considering 4. Oh, no. Okay. I'm still wrong about this because this was assuming, yeah, I got it. This was assuming that if we're only ever going in one direction, that we're always considering this with the end index that we had, and then this with the end index, and then this with the end index, and these are in the middle. So I messed up again. So how should this have worked? Let me think about that. Advance this. Yeah, I need to get to a point where I'm considering this as a start index and this as an end index. And so that means that however I'm constricting the search space, that we need to stagger how we're pulling in edges. But there's some other case that I haven't considered. So either of these is bigger, we just stop. In which case we go back to the code that I have and I change my find indices function. I guess let's go back to that. Only issue is I don't know how to control Y all the way back to it. There we go. That'll work. Yeah, so here's where we were searching in both directions. And I need to change this function. But I'm not still sure how I change this. Do we always just go to the next one that's bigger? Or do we need to potentially backtrack at all here? Because I think this is how I got myself in a bad state to begin with. Keep going to the one that's bigger. Then you'll eventually go to here. So we'll actually be fine. And this will eventually go to here. So I guess we try advancing the start if we can't, we try advancing the end. We just return indices at this point. Don't think that's gonna work. Still 16. I'm gonna submit this. I don't think this is right though. I think it's gonna fail on another test case, and I think I know why. Yeah, I think it's because I'm not considering this to end at the right time. So mine is saying 18, needs to be saying 42, which we had this problem earlier too. Yeah, so I think I have just the wrong algorithm here. Yeah. 7 times, what is it again? 7 times 6? No, 6 times 7. Here to here. Yeah. Maybe what we do is we try advancing them each inward by one at a time until it works. I don't know if that's actually. I feel like I have completely rejected now what the problem is, and I'm just thinking of how do we solve what is currently the symptom of the problem. Because if we were to move in by one each time, if it's bigger, then that'll fail, because then we'll jump over to here and then this will be broken. Yeah, okay. So I think I'm done here then. I think we're going to say that I failed this problem. I'll read chat now. Let's scroll way up. Okay, I think here's where I was reading. Yep. Hey, Zachary. Don't think forward continue. Yeah, so I think what you guys were saying at that point, what you were responding to is when I was like, no, this would have to go over to here. But you guys were right. Yes, it would have formed a container. And I wasn't thinking about that. Hey, Ghost. Just for content. Yeah, Beast Dispenser. I think here's what I generally think. I think that something like this, if this ever came up as a problem, and it totally could, although I don't know where this specific thing would come up, but if this came up as a problem, yeah, I would probably struggle with this in actual development world. And yeah, I think that would be a very small portion of development. I have had to do things like this before, and there are problems that I haven't seen before. Or I'll give you an example. I had a set of rectangles and I needed to nudge them in such a way that they wouldn't ever overlap. So like this being here was bad and I would have to move it. And like that comes up, and that's basically an interview problem, right? How do you move the rectangles such that there's no overlap? Then maybe how do you move it such that you're using the minimum possible space, or that you nudge them out of the way in just the right amount? Those sorts of things I think are good to be able to do. I just don't think they come up very frequently. Why to go over to LeetCode? I don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember. Even after an hour of switching to Leak Code, I probably wouldn't have been able to tell you. But I think it was a couple days ago, so I guess you could check the VOD. I tried Quokka. You can show the console.log result. I don't think so. Yeah, at least not for interview prep. You're supposed to move this smaller line. Oh, that's what. Oh, man. Oh, God. It hurts. It hurts. It hurts, chat. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's rewrite our algorithm then. Okay, so if height at start is less than height at end, then we do this. There, done. Now we don't consider that. I sort of had the idea, but my delta was considering how far horizontally it moved, not how far vertically it would move. Oh man. All right. Well, none of this stuff matters then, right? We have a return pretty much either way. Well, this, yeah, whatever. There. Let's try that. Oh, I think it's gonna work now. Oh, if only I considered that. Now, what's this wrong answer? I might have messed up something else in the middle. So mine's saying 15, which is 3 times 5, and it needs to be 24. So we're going to move to this. Oh, it's not. It's. No, I had the right idea with the delta thing. Right? So it's not which one's smaller. It's which one's going to. Yeah, the delta thing needs to be back. That's what I had. And delta just needs to consider. Oh my God. Okay, so indices break. Indices break. And then delta start and end are not based on the index. It's based on the heights at those indexes. So we do this. There. And then fix this thing because I could not rely on multiple cursors for that. There we go. I might have reversed the... Yeah, I might have reversed this. There. I think this is the answer. Took 40 tries. Wrong answer. All right, never mind. Let me struggle some more, then I'll read chat again. So this is 12. What are we finding that? 4 times 3. Traffic, thanks for resubbing. Good to see you. Twice in like 12 hours, not 14 hours. Yeah. So I'm doing 4 times 3, and it needs to be 17. So we're jumping from 6 to 17. So we need to jump in whichever direction would be bigger. No, jump in whichever direction is smaller. Smaller, 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 then it's 13. So we jump here. Then, no, I'm still messing this up. I don't know. Let me just keep reading chat. Imagine the interviewer's talking and I was just ignoring it. That would be funny. Is it true this would be n squared? This is, yeah, should be at least. Actually, let me think about this, because as you're iterating from the outside, you are also comparing. No, actually, I think it's just O of n. Yeah, because we're just iterating from the outside in this case. I got rid of my function that would have been a second iteration, the find end index of container. I keep reading through this. What's this? This. Watched this yesterday in a text screen. Oh, cool. And hey, Sauce. Don't worry, I'm sure there are a lot of internships out there. Okay, I'm gonna go find an entry level dev job, guys. Did I even sleep? Yeah, I slept. How much of development efficiency course depends on auto hotkey? So I would say it's mostly about identifying issues in your own workflow more so than specific suggestions. So there's 3 things that every developer likely, my goodness, it's so hard to type in plain text with autocomplete. I don't know what I just typed. These 3 things are something pretty much every developer will use pretty thoroughly. And it's not always true. Obviously, you have to be on an operating system. But what I mean is, like, you could just be in your terminal 24/7, and at that point, you don't really need the operating system too much, or not efficiency in there. So it mostly talks about how would you identify these things, and then here are some suggestions, and then the specific scripts, sure, are for Windows, Visual Studio Code, and AutoHotkey mostly, but you can likely apply them to whatever you're using. Yeah. So, well, this was something. I don't even know at this point what I need to do for this algorithm. Do I have, this is the one I already messed up on. Yeah, so here's our bar chart. Is this the exact same one that I already have over here? Yeah. And so what is the issue that I want to get to? Because we're always jumping by the one that has the lowest increment. We're going to do this, 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 and this is plus 13. So we'll do this one next, plus 11. And then we do this, which is plus 1, and we get to 5 and 18, which is wrong. If we always do by the one that has a lower, then we'll, or wait, by the one that has a greater one, then we'll jump from here to here. And then actually we would get there from here too. But this is just coincidence. If it were reversed, I'd have to change things. Try adding an outline. The outline I think is only hard to see when I'm in Paint, and I should mostly be in a code editor. So, but let me see if it's easy to add an outline really fast. Ah, there is an outline button. Okay, let me do that. There, now you should be able to see it even over Paint. Is that good? I can't actually tell in the preview because it's too small. No, it's not good. Okay. Is that better? We tried. I don't know. I don't know, chat. I'm a broken developer at this point. That's probably a little bit better. Yeah, so I think this is it for now for that. Yeah. Let's look at, do they have hints for this? I think this is a good question. Aim is to maximize the area formed between the vertical lines. Area of any container is calculated using a shorter line as length and distance between lines as a width. We can get the maximum width container as the outermost lines, have the maximum distance. However, this might not be the maximum in size. Okay, yeah. So I knew all of that. Start with the maximum width container and go to a shorter width if there's a vertical line longer than the current container's shorter line. Oh, is this helpful? So we start with this, and they say only move inward if you know you're going to actually increase a dimension. So going to this won't increase a dimension. Going to this won't either. Going to this one will. Yeah. That's the part I missed. Okay. So what I was doing even here is comparing, is the height of the bar we moved to going to be more than the bar we came from. So here, for example. But it doesn't matter about this height increasing because it's still going to be shorter than this one. And until we get above this very perfectly drawn horizontal line, it's not going to do anything. So jumping to here will make a difference. Aha. We've done it, chat. We've done it. Now we just need to code it. Yeah, I don't think I would have gotten it without that hint, though. I think I would have just been stuck forever. Stuck in internships. That's perhaps the best thing that was said. In fact, let me give you a point, Cyberbennett. Okay, so what are we doing here? We're jumping to the first one that's bigger, but we don't actually care unless we get to one that's bigger than the, okay, so taller height equals math.max, height at start, height at end, and we want it to be greater than that. And then we can just return, because we don't care which way we went. And the rest of this is garbage. Delete. Okay. Try and tell me I'm wrong now. Try elite code. Because we're going to turn this very quickly into a hacking site. Try to find vulnerabilities. If you tell me I'm wrong. Time limit exceeded. Okay, that's technically not telling me I'm wrong. But that likely means that I have an infinite loop, which is very easy to solve. Yeah, I have an infinite loop. Yeah. Min or max. I want the taller of the heights to make sure that I have exceeded the taller height and that I return that. And I need to just figure out, there might have been some other assumption now. I made so many changes that I'm not sure what the working code is anymore. So indices at start is 1. So we, wait, no, what? That's not right. No, this is right. This isn't the problem that I want. Oh, I understand. Yeah, I'm just working with something else, but that's okay. So we found an area of this. Now find next indices is returning pretty much the same thing, I'm guessing. But there's no check to see if they're the same. Oh yeah, I got rid of that check. I commented out too much, that's all. I'm pretty sure this code we're gonna, yeah, this code should have been. Oopsie doodle. What did I do? Yeah, the wrong answer means it's fine, guys. That means everything's working. The name of the game is tunnel vision, everybody. It's spend as much time as possible on one problem. Who cares about actually learning during an interview? So expected 4, because we should have gone from 4 to 1. So let's see how this should have worked. We start at the ends, and we go to the first one that's going to make this bigger, which would be this. But we want to go, oh, maybe we want to consider the deltas of how far they traveled as well, so that we get to the smallest change. Yeah, okay, we can do that too. So we just get rid of all the heights here, and get rid of all the end curly braces, and do this, and go to the one if delta end is greater than, which should just be written as delta start is less than. So it's exactly the same condition, a little easier to understand. Then we change this to break, and we change this to break. I think we're finally good. So we had a couple of things very close. This actually still didn't work. Indices. Did I reverse it? No, I did. What is happening here? 1 goes to 2. No, it goes up to 4 immediately. He goes to 4. What is the answer? The answer is 4, because it should be 1 to 4. So we always want to move in the place that the one that's smaller. And I'm not doing this for some reason. Let's debug this. Yeah. How much money do you get paid to solve these problems? Nothing. I'm just doing this as prep. And what difficulty? This one's medium. And I think it's pretty easy to turn any problem into a higher level difficulty. So I'm treating this like it's the hardest problem I've ever encountered. This is taking quite a long time. But I don't think it actually deserves this much time. And I think I'm just doing a bad job. So I think the other thing that'd be nice to know is indices.end. So we end up moving inward. And then at that point, we already have the longest area, right? That area is 2. Oh, no, it should go from this to this. No, I think I'm still wrong. Still don't actually have the algorithm for this. Yeah, I think most of the time I come up with an algorithm and then it's coding it, something goes wrong in there. This time I still haven't come up with the right algorithm. Maybe over the course of iterating, we should just check every area. But then we're basically checking like every single rectangle. What's a convenient way to whiteboard on PC other than Paint? Pretty much any code sharing site. Like even Visual Studio Code has session sharing. It's just not finding the area of the very first test case. No, it is. That's only a height of 3 though. The height of 4 is going from this index to this index, which my program is never going to check. Because that's 2 times 2. Yeah. And I don't know how I'll get it to check that unless I check some intermediate stuff as well. Does it really indicate superior ability? No, I think there are lots of parts of being a developer. Yeah, and this is what chat's saying too. If you're looking to interview someone, you could hire an absolute genius of a developer who will actively take away from your team by not being a team player, by trying to invent things that have already been invented. There are many components of being a developer. Or they're a genius, they do all their code great, they work with a team, but they don't work with their legacy code, they don't write documentation, they don't write tests, who knows what. Let me switch taller height from max to min. But at that point, all we're comparing against is that we're going to a taller height, which will essentially make it so that the min isn't there anymore. And it would just be what I had originally. Actually, I guess that's not entirely true. But what that would also let us do is move from, like, let's say we're comparing these things. Let's say we were comparing this, which is a 6, and this, which is a 2. So this is a 2, this is a 6. We would be able to move from a 6 down to a 5, which will never actually increase the area. So I don't think we ever want to make that move, which is what math.min would consider. Because math.min would say, okay, here's our bar that we have to be higher than. Whereas math.max says, here's our bar we have to be higher than. Yeah, mine looks for the max height from each side. Yeah, so mine's going to consider this and then only try to move to one that's higher than it. And it's going to prioritize the one that's closer to the one that's higher than it. So it's going to move to this one first, and then it's going to move to this one, which means it won't consider a case that we have here where right now what happens is the 3 jumps to a 4, which now immediately prevents it from ever finding a solution, which is from 2 to 3. I can't actually highlight a portion of this, or I could show you. There we go. So this is where the answer should be. Moving from 2 to 3 increases area. You need to delete the taller height part. Moving from 2 to 3. I'm not sure what you're talking about there. Oh, because height is multiplicative, right? Moving to this would, yeah, but no, okay, wait. So this is what I had originally, where I just checked to see is the height increasing from what it used to be. Okay, yeah. So that is something true that I messed up. So this taller height, I don't think actually matters. I think what matters is just what was the height to begin with and what was the height at the end. But I don't think this is going to cause a different problem to be there. And I'm not going to get all of these things working. So now this one works, but if I were to submit this code, it's going to be wrong on one of the other issues. Yeah. Just closer neighbor could be smaller than repeat. The area is not being calculated here. That's what I was saying is the one thing I would, if I'm calculating the area as I'm going through this, then I would find the answer. But then I would just be brute forcing this, right? By finding every area as I constrict this. Yeah, that's where I'm not sure. Please walk through a simple solution. Yeah, I guess if I'm going to give up on this problem, I might as well look at a solution now. So width equals right minus left. The height is whichever height is lower. Area is width times height. Max area, yep, compare that. So if height left is less than height of right, then just advance the left one inward. So that's it? So basically all of this could be, I could delete even this. I will say this, I definitely did not have the right idea at all. I think this was a problem with the algorithm I came up with. So this is what it should be apparently. Yeah, I don't think I ever would have gotten this. Yeah, I never would have gotten that. I think what I would have done is, as I'm iterating over these things, I would have just tried everything. Well, I guess that's what I was working toward, yeah. But I still thought this is kind of like the brute force solution. Yeah, find next indices is redundant. I agree. Because all we need to do is compare the height. I mean, at this point, the function is just this, which is, yeah, compare the height and add or subtract. It's a shame. No, my return instead of break still wouldn't have made any difference because what I'm doing is I'm iterating over potentially a lot of different bars at a time and then breaking. Whereas any one of those bars I'm skipping over could have been the solution. I wonder if it would have accepted a brute force as an answer. Yeah, I wonder too. I mean, this is O of n, and O of n squared could have been too many cases. Yeah, this is quite a shame. I didn't come up with the right algorithm, and then everything I was coding was wrong, and then I started trying to fix problems from that. But I think that coming up with test cases that contradict your first algorithm can be difficult if you don't see them in this instance. It's sometimes easier with numbers or with strings or patterns. What a shame. If you move closer and your smaller one becomes even smaller, then the area won't increase. I am a little topsy-turvy right now, but the way that I had things coded is mine would have skipped over. Let's just look at that case that we had. It was this one, right? So mine would always check to see if this is bigger. Oh, you're saying stop as soon as you find the one that's immediately bigger. No, I still, you always have to compare this if you're going to do things this way of is which height is lower and then move that one in. If I don't do things that way, then we run into an issue where we're always moving to like a local maximum, but that the area is smaller as a whole. And then we are now past the point because we're moving in toward the middle of the array. We're past the point where we could find the area. So in this case, the right solution is searching these three numbers. But in another case, it could be that it's toward the very end or at the very beginning. Yeah, you win some, you lose some. I think, like I said, if this were a real interview scenario, I imagine this is the kind of thing they'd be like, well, that's it. I'm not going to consider this guy anymore. And yeah, I think I did very poorly at this. And yeah, this whole thing could be a lot simpler. I think maybe it's worth coming back to this in a couple weeks and seeing, do I remember how to do it any better then? I'm not sure. But yeah, I think it's a good question. Okay, well, let's do a couple more. What a shame. Yeah, what a shame. Okay, integer to Roman. So we did the opposite of this. We did Roman to integer. It's got a lot of downvotes. Represented by 7 different symbols. 2 is written as II. 12 is written as XII. Number 20 is written as that. Usually written largest to smallest. However, the numeral for 4 is not 4 i's. Instead, it's IV. Because the 1 is before the 5, we subtract it, making 4. Same principle applies to number 9. 6 instances where it's used, given an integer converted to a Roman numeral. Yeah, so it's exactly the opposite of the problem we encountered before. Okay. It's considered a simple problem and it takes too long and it's still wrong, very possibly. Yeah. Yeah, and this is what I think happens sometimes is you are not in the right mindset for that one problem. You like spiral out of control. And I see this a lot. I watch a pretty good amount of esports actually. Well, only in 2 games, but still. And a lot of times what people will say, they'll be commentating a best of 5 and they'll say something like, if you absolutely stomp your opponent in the first match, you get in their head. And then from then on out, they might play a little bit worse because your nerves are just like going crazy during a tournament. So I think that same sort of thing can happen in an interview where you're like, cool, I prepped, I'm ready, the interviewer seemed nice, and then you get to the first interview and you're like, uh-oh. And then you're in your head the rest of the day. Hey, Fled. What if you otherwise have a huge body of verified work? I don't think people necessarily care. I also, from what I've seen, most of the recruiters and hiring managers I talk to will not look at all of your hiring materials. They'll look at whatever they find important. So I have my portfolio. I don't really want to share this because I don't want people clicking this video because I'm using the view count to figure out how many recruiters looked at it. But anyway, so if you want to watch this video, I'll give you a link. Share.bot.land/portfolio.mp4. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. So here's the link. If you guys want to watch this video, please don't click this link. But the portfolio itself, I'll link in the chat as well. And so what's nice about my specific portfolio, which I thought is pretty good, first of all, my work for like the last 5 years is all online. And so if you wanted to ever watch a crazy amount of hours of development, like practically all these videos are 8 hours long and they just keep going. It's literally like 5 years of work in here. And at any given work day, you can see how I worked on that day. In addition, all of the work that I did, all that output is online too. And some of it's either usable or playable or whatever. And Anon, thanks for subbing. Thanks, XLM. Welcome. So yeah, I think that's very interesting from a hiring perspective, but who's going to actually look through any of this? And of the ones who look through it, who are going to understand what's going on or care to ask questions about it? So yeah, I found this to be pretty annoying. And so sure, it's totally possible that you get an interview question, you do poorly, and then they're just like, well, we don't care about anything else. Let's move on. And which esports? StarCraft 2 and Smash Ultimate. I'll watch Melee every once in a while, but Melee is now boring in my mind, given that they're like 6 top tier characters and that's it. Yeah, you got to be able to recite after bombing a question. I agree. Yeah. Okay, let's do this one. So this is integer to Roman. I'll type this in the thing over here. And then we'll move this to this side. This is my hat. This is my hat that I'm wearing here. So we've got all the rules. Desktop delete code, integer to Roman. So what's nice about this is that the question is very easy to understand, and I'm guessing it's just a little difficult to do. So let's think about this. Let's think about, they've got some answers here too. Let's copy all these down. There we go. Okay, so input 3 goes to 3, 4 goes to IV. So how do we do this? And we know that the number is going to be, input is 1 to 3999, but I don't think that should matter too much, except that those are the numbers I don't know, they're probably Roman numerals for even larger numbers, but we don't know what those are and we don't really care. So yeah, let's think of how this would kind of work. So if we want to represent the number, let's say 12, would we consider what is the biggest number that fits into it? No, we wouldn't necessarily be able to do it, because I was going to say we could say XII. This is what it's supposed to turn into. And we can subtract as we go. But then what's the first number? Okay, 9, I guess. The biggest number less than it is 5, which means we can't actually build it up from that. Oh, but the only special ones are, they always start with 4 and 9. Also the examples here. Zidius, welcome back. And thanks for the resub. So then, wait, if that's the only case, then maybe this isn't so bad? You pretty much just go until you get a 4 and 9 and then handle that specially? How do you write 900? Let me write that out. 900, C can be placed before an M. So 900 is CM. Yeah. And 400 is CD. 40 is XL. And 90 is XC. 4 is IV. And 9 is IX. Okay. So with that in mind, then, how do we write 950? I guess it doesn't really work that way, does it? What do we write 950? CML. Oh, so just starting with 900 is enough for us to, okay, got it. D45 XLV. I'm guessing that's right too. I want to just write these out and make sure, yeah. I want to make sure I actually know what I'm doing before I continue with this one. And I'm guessing 95 is XCV. Yeah, good. So 5 is just V. Okay, so yeah, my thinking is that we bite off the biggest number that we can bite off here. So for example, if we have a number above, actually let's cut out the high end of this. Let's just look at these numbers. Let's say we had a number from 1 to 2000. 1 to 2000. And how do you do something like 1900 MCM? So if we were to say the input is 1500, and let's say we take out an M, so now we're left with 500. And then, okay, so now we look at just the, this could just be recursive here. Now we have an input of 500. And again, what is, this is just D. That's MD. Okay. That'll work. So maybe we do literally just check if something starts with a 4 or a 9. Oh, there are some cases where that's not going to work. Oh, maybe it's not. Okay. Yeah, so I think we take out the algorithm is subtract the biggest number that we can at any given time. By the way, I'm back to not reading chat for a little bit. And if that number starts with a 4, unless the number starts with a 4 or 9, we do something different. So yeah, let's do this with some. No, I should probably actually test this out with a bunch of different numbers, just from an algorithm perspective, before I move on. So let's say we had 90. The biggest number is actually L, so that wouldn't work, because 90 does not involve L. Oh no, but it starts with a 9. That's our exception. Yeah. So it starts with a 9, so we know it's an exception. So considering things that are not exceptions, that don't have any 4s or 9s in them, if we consider something like 670, for example, there's supposed to be DCLXX. Yeah, so 670. Yeah, we take D and we're left with 170. And then that gives us C, and then we're left with 70. And it gives us L. And then, yeah, 2 X's. Okay, let's try just that way at first. So const Roman values. So what are all the numbers that we have? These. Okay. So now how are we going to do this? We're going to take the number while true, while number is greater than 0, I guess, and let string. So now if the number is greater than 1,000, we could say to subtract this and add an M. So maybe the best way then is to have the Roman values be an array of objects, where we say the character and we say the value. Yeah. And if we're going to do things that way, then we should write them all in here. Value, character. Okay. And just for consistency. Okay, so for I equals, and let's put these in descending order. So there we go. So for I equals 0, I is less than Roman values dot length plus I. So if the number is greater than that, I dot value, then string plus equal Roman values I dot char, and num minus equal value. So this should be the basics for the non-exception cases. Alex, welcome back. Heart to you too. So let's do what you guys suggested. Let's write our test case. So test. So input, expected output. We're running in Node, but I don't want to require a cert. Oh no, we could require a cert right here. That way they're not going to do this. Yeah. So we'll write all our test cases out. Except for we didn't code half of these. But so test, our input is going to be, let's see, 5. We're not going to get any ones with 4s in them or 9s. So 670 should be DCLXX. And 1900, that won't work for us. Let's try these for right now. So assert.equal that the into Roman input is the expected output. And now what's this called? Into Roman. So this failed. This has got an infinite loop. This is greater than, and we can also break after this. Can only match one of these. All right, what am I doing wrong now? What? Yeah, what? I forgot the equal then sign. Aha. Okay, perfect. So now we got our test cases passing. Console.log. Probably should have written what the test case is. Test. I'll just write it as like input, output. Okay, good. So cool. Let's add in some other basic test cases here. I3 is II. 10. Oops. 20 is XX. So all those are working. And now we want to add in these kinds of test cases. So how does that change things? So we said to check if it's an exception, and we know it's an exception if it's one of those other ones. How does, maybe this isn't actually that hard. I'm trying to make it harder than it is. Because we only have these exceptions, right? So Roman exceptions are going to start with 900, 400, 90, 40, 9, 4. And those are respectively CM, CD, XC, XL. That's not right. No, that's right. And IX, IV. And I do see a pattern here, of course, but I will still just do things this way for now. So I guess if it's equal to any of those, and that's all we have to do. Is that right? Now let's add in the other test cases, I guess. So we test this with this. Assertion error. XXXXV. Vibe of welcome back. A whole year. Yeehaw. Thanks for something. All right, what number is this? 45. So I messed up 45. So in this case, the issue is that we are still considering the ones digit here, which is the greater than I had, which we can't start with that. Okay, so I see. We need to go basically in order. We need to consider if it's, so I could just put this in, I could just shuffle these in, right? I think. Let's see if that works. There. Hey, we did it. Okay, I think that's the answer then. And now we just get rid of all our test code. I have an extra for loop that's completely unnecessary now. Yeah, that was it. So we get rid of this, or this one, I mean, and this one, and this, and all of this, and submit. Okie dokie. Now let me read chat. Was it bubble sort? Pretty much was. Let me see. Where's the top of chat? Where did I read last? Ah, here it is. Oh, chat just disappeared. What? Yeah, here it is. And thanks, Dizzy. You're the best in my house. It's very nice of you. Does it really represent how the job would go? I feel if you encounter an algorithm issue that stumps you for 30 minutes, a Google search on a similar style problem will get you where you need to go. Yeah, I think so too. And that's why I don't really like this as an interview process. But since this is what some companies do, it's a necessary evil if you want to work at those companies. And yeah, tequila. Actually, does that exist? I I wonder if there's any language that does that. Erratics of Roman. Seems dumb to me. You can have 5,000 hours of demonstrable competence in writing code and you fail because of a silly coding challenge. Well, so okay, I did some coding challenges recently, although not all of them were on the phone. Some of them were ahead of time. And the last one I did terribly on. Now, I don't know for sure if that's why I didn't get the job, but that's my biggest hunch as to why I didn't get the job. My second biggest hunch is that it's something I said on Twitch, which is entirely possible. I was saying a lot about how I applied to jobs I didn't want to work at, and it's possible that they heard that. In fact, the guy opened the interview with, "So why do you want to work here?" And then I started answering him, and he's like, "No, I'm just kidding. I saw on your stream you didn't like that question." I thought like, "Oh, that's nice." But yeah, so I am led to believe it's because of how the interview went. And yeah, this is what makes me think it doesn't really matter what work I've done already. Check out if you read and explains, you don't implement something completely different. Well, I still want to explore the problem myself, and I kind of like how this went. I didn't think of this ahead of time, but then I realized as I was doing it, oh yeah, I could just lump these together. And maybe I haven't really analyzed my code yet either to figure out if I'd like to do this differently. Yeah. And hey, what is your name? Elam? I read this as Alpha. Mapla. Oh, Alpha male backwards. Yeah, I got it. That's why I read it back. And here, cross. We can switch to software. Just got to add a CS minor. Nice, yeah. Yeah. You got the thing for payment in the portfolio? At least I haven't seen this regarding everything. Anything? What do you mean? Forgot the thing for payment? Like that I forgot to mention that it's paid software or paid courses? Because I don't know if that's necessarily going to matter to them. Although maybe you're talking about something else. Yeah. Yeah, I think writing unit tests as you go. I think that's another thing I should write down. Writing unit tests so that when you run locally, you're testing everything automatically is dead simple and will probably gain you bonus points in the interviewer's eyes just by considering it. Yeah, I think it's worth doing. And I know Player's one of the people who suggested it, so I'll give you a point, but someone else might have too. It doesn't matter what language you use to prep for interviews. All that matters is that you're not wiping out the purpose of the question by using a language feature. So, for example, I was saying this earlier. If they're like, okay, write quicksort, you don't write it in Python by saying return sorted some list, right? I don't know how this works in Python. This might be proper code. I don't know. But never write that, right? That's like, oh, yeah, you know how to use the sort function. Okay, now write it. So that's other than that, it doesn't really matter what language you use. Actually, it'd be really funny if you're like, all right, I'm going to do some whiteboard coding. I choose whitespace as my language. And you just say, okay, done. I don't think they'd appreciate that as a joke. I wonder if that's somehow the equivalent of like, well, it didn't scan, so it must be free as a cashier. Oh, hey, nice state space. Yeah, welcome back. And yeah, hey, vibe up. Interview prep is going well. Yeah, and yeah, I'm hunting for a job. Check the today command. The title should say to check the today command, I think. Ever look at Chatterino too? I did a while ago. I have a note somewhere over here that's called Quest for the Perfect Twitch Chat Client. And I think Chatterino was on the list and I never ended up using it for some reason. Let me go back to this. So you want to stop streaming full time? Yeah, I mean the full time aspect of streaming has already stopped. because when I was doing Adam Learns full time, the stream couldn't be full time. It was full time for a week, and then it was like completely off for a week, and then it was full time for a week, and so yeah. Also, it's not that I want to; it's that I kind of have to if I'm gonna make money. I have not made very much money off of Adam Learns. I was sharing revenue numbers yesterday. I think it's at roughly $1,530, and that's over maybe what has it been at this point? 2 to 3 months. I don't know how long. Anyway, it's bad money as far as a business goes. It's nice that I got any money from it, and I think it's a product that could work in the future. I think I need to market it a lot more. I agree with you, Sorrow. I think an engineer being not technically competent is something that can be worked on, but fixing someone's personality is something that you pretty much can't do. There are ways you can talk to someone, you can try to get them to correct certain things, but it's like those take so much longer and they're so much harder to talk about too. Like, hey, you're kind of a jerk when you have when you have a meeting or something. Like, how do you approach someone about that? Yeah, yeah, I agree, Otis. Let's keep going. Implementation of payment method? And maybe it's that. I wonder if Aurelio responded. I'm still scrolling through chat. If you see right now, this is from 11:54, 11:55. It's currently 11:58, so I'm like 2-3 minutes behind. Any advice for someone starting lead code and interview prep? I'm going to try to consolidate all my advice into my notes over here. Although I'm sure people will want like a summary at the top. So, summary of my overall learnings. Note, I still have to format these nicely. Yeah, I want to write this down. Yeah. I'll write that down here too. Make sure to format my notes about the overall learnings in interview prep. So there's a notes command to get to this, or just go to notes.adamlearns.com. Have you tried using a recruiter? No, I haven't. I don't know. I feel like sometimes I paralyze myself with certain decisions, and so marketing is a big one where I just felt like there are a lot of constraints that I imposed on myself. And when looking to get a job, there are many different routes you can go. You can find a traditional full-time job. You can try to work part-time somewhere. You can do contract. You can do freelancing. You can go through an agency. And some of these things I just didn't consider because I thought, is this sustainable? What am I going to find? I've never done this before. Is it worth the time? And that's me paralyzing myself. They might have been good routes to go, and I just don't know. Which company? Check the today command. Yeah. Being asked to write X sort is testing you understand complexity and how sort works. Yeah, I think in general, I think it's also just an easy enough thing where they can assume you would have researched it if you were looking into these kinds of questions. Yeah, quicksort is a divide and conquer algorithm. What are your top tips for tech interviews? I want to put these in here. I think I should probably write that stuff down too. And again, I haven't formatted this yet, but during a tech interview, think aloud as much as possible. And whenever you hit a wall, try to break down the problem. Yeah, I'll try to keep my top tips over here. And yeah, if you'd ask to write quick sort, walk out. I will quickly sort myself out of this room. Which programming domain? You mean like front end, back end, etc.? I'd rather work on anything that's not front end. So full stack is okay if it touches the front end a little bit. Back end is okay. DevOps, I don't really mind so much, but I don't want it to be 100% of my job. Do I have a CV on LinkedIn? No, I don't. I send that to people as a PDF file. I want to be part of the process. I'll say this: I'll broadcast to you over Twitch, and I won't read chat. You Doctor Boyfriend. Is that a Venture Bros reference? I know there's Doctor Girlfriend. And yeah, no problem, Juice. Okay, I'm at the bottom of chat now. I'm like 8 messages away, probably. Yeah. If you learn sorting and you learn palindromes, you're pretty much done. And then you'll encounter a question where it's like, sort this list, and the list is a palindrome. You'll be like, oh my god, I'm made for this problem. I don't want to focus on UX UI. Yeah, exactly. I have no UI ability whatsoever. And UX, while I have some ability with that, I feel like it's more abstract than what people would necessarily look for. So I've seen some front end jobs where they advertise it as saying, yeah, you need to have some design sense. You need to be able to fill in the blanks. I cannot do that. I worked on UI. I can do it. I don't like doing it. No, I didn't get an interview. Yeah, like, cause I checked the today command. Yeah. I'm looking for remote because of Corona pandemic. No, I just don't want to commute. And yeah, Venture Bros, gotcha. Why don't you make videos on solving interview and leak code questions? Those seem to be popular. You could monetize too. I'm not really looking to make money off of this process. In fact, I've been saying this now a couple of days in a row that I'm thinking of canceling the Twitch partnership because I don't want to make money off of Twitch anymore either. So the way I see it is I am making videos on this, and it just happens to be in Twitch and it's long form. Tell the API and all the paid stuff. Yeah, I guess. I feel like this is how everybody talks about their resumes, though, is like, I'm really good at everything and I can learn stuff. And I think with me, I've got a track record of learning things on stream and integrating with other APIs and everything. But I don't think interviewers would believe that necessarily. They need to see it, and they're never going to look at the proof, I suppose. Who would I sub to? I have to use it each month? I don't know. Actually, one of the things I should talk to Twitch about, I don't have a problem with being a Twitch partner. I have a problem with monetizing it. I should just ask Twitch support about turning off subs and shares. Maybe you should consider upselling yourself more instead of downplaying. This is slightly different. I feel like downplaying is saying that I don't have a product worth buying. I think what I do on stream is valuable. I don't think you guys should have to pay for it. I think if I'm trying to make a living off of it, then yes, accepting money makes sense. But if I'm not trying to make a living off of it, then you should keep your money. Turning off subs, you. Okay, I'll stop talking about this. I'll just reach out to Twitch support and ask them about it. And hey, Narco, and for you. Am I looking for a remote job specifically? So I live in Washington State. I am looking for jobs with a short commute. So pretty much in my city, in a neighboring city, maybe, and remote. That's kind of what I'm considering. Have you dealt with imposter syndrome? I have a feeling that pretty much every programmer has dealt with imposter syndrome. So yes, I have for sure. And how have I dealt with it? It's very different as a Twitch streamer. As a Twitch streamer, I would say that you get a ratio. Let me turn this off, by the way. There's no more text floating above me anymore. As a Twitch streamer, you get a ratio of maybe like 80 nice people to about like 19 neutral people to like one negative person or troll. And so just being on Twitch and kind of having this ratio be the case, it does give you a lot of insight into what you're doing well. And this is one of the things I talk about if you go to blog.adamlearns.com. I'll just link this in the chat. Is that even the URL? No, it's not. I don't know my own URLs. Here, yeah. So this blog post, I talk a lot about the process of being a Twitch streamer. One of the things you encounter as a Twitch streamer is that I'm showing every part of the development process, right? You guys over the last 5 years have seen me write automated tests. You've seen me do documentation. You've seen me just do design work. You've seen me actually code. You've seen me probably get frustrated and do whatever else is part of all these other things up above. But you've seen it all. And so you've been able to see the parts I do well and the parts I do poorly. And the things that I do well, people are pretty willing to talk about. And so as a developer, it's let me know, here are the things that I do well that I would otherwise never get insight into. So at a job, if you write extensive notes and you never share them with anybody, how is your boss or how are your coworkers going to know that these are even good? But I've shared these with chat and people have said, oh, these really helped out a lot. Your style of organization has been good. The way you write out problems or write what's on your mind. Some of the ways you approach coding problems maybe. So those are things that help out quite a lot with imposter syndrome, is just kind of getting positive feedback. But I think the biggest part of it is self-esteem, which of course has self in it, and you need to believe that at the end of the day. And so for me, what has proven that is that I've gotten these kind of big endeavors done. Like Botland was a massive undertaking, and it's online and it's playable, and like the game's not great according to the general public, but it's there. And same thing, AdamLearns.com. I didn't know Firebase. I learned it. We made a site. We hosted on Firebase. I then did a course about it. We've got other courses on here. I've got the blog. Those are things that I look at and I think I did that. I had a large hand in that. And I can't really take that away at this point. So I think that's really helpful. I think if you're just starting out and you don't have a portfolio of work yet, it's harder to convince yourself that you're a good developer because you're constantly going to wonder, well, I see other developers and they're good. Are they better than me? Am I good? Am I providing any value? And you just start questioning everything. So I think as much as possible, try to get out of your own head. Ah, Narco, I see. Sitting in a JS full stack bootcamp online, struggling pretty hard. Yeah, I think there's a lot of work that goes into that. And Narco, I don't know how early on you are into the process, but I would say speak up sooner rather than later because catching up in the first week or two is much easier than catching up after a couple months. Have I tried applying at Twitter? I haven't yet, I think. And there's some reason why, but I don't remember the reason why. Yeah. Yeah, Hog as well. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think it is a lot of work. And this is something that I think people sometimes don't consider. I think there are a lot of people who pursue game design as how can I do game X better? And already when you're comparing it to another game that exists, you think of cutting out some of the design work. Almost 4 years, I know. Crazy. Thank you for throwing your money at the monitor. What's full stack development? Full stack development is basically you own every part of the app or some slice of it at least. So you do some back end, meaning you'll write the server. You'll do some of the front end, meaning you're writing some of the interface. You'll maybe even deploy it to the cloud, meaning you're doing some of the ops work. And then whatever else you might consider, maybe that also includes design. Maybe it includes writing tests. What do you think about Jamstack? From what I understand of this term, it's basically just a stack that works for whatever you're doing. So if you want to throw something onto Firebase and you want to write a React front end and you want to have some other piece somewhere else in a different cloud, that's a Jamstack. Is that correct? Because if so, I can tell you what I think about that, but I need to make sure we're on the right page. That's what JSS call themselves and they use MongoDB. MongoDB is web scale. Where's the command for that? There it is. Oh, is Jam literally for something like JavaScript, Angular, MongoDB or something? Because I thought Jamstack was a general term. But yeah, I don't know for sure. By the way, I am going to say we're done with interview questions for now. I'm probably going to probably be done for the rest of the day. I don't know. Yesterday I streamed again in the afternoon. I don't know if I'll do that. I might just pursue some of these on my own. It is a generic thing? Okay. Because I've searched for this term a couple times because I've seen companies advertise it when I'm applying. Anyway, if that is what it is, just a generic, like whatever worked, you use it, I think it's fine. I don't really know if you have a specific question, Lamets, or not. Oh, JavaScript APIs markup? Okay, then no, I don't know what it is. Yeah, I would need to look it up. Yeah. All right, but like I said, I'm going to get going. I will be back tomorrow for sure, and we'll be doing more of this. Let's go host. I really appreciate you guys watching. If you like what you saw, feel free to follow any of those links. And I will start off the raid. So have a good rest of your day, everybody. See you later.